lot to talk about on this one. I got a new idea for something new to do with these magic streams, and it's going to involve a good chunk of my my vintage collection. So I figured before we get into actually trying that, I better go over and take the opportunity to show you what I've got so that we know what we're working with. I've also got a little package of mail that I picked up today, so while we get going here, I'm just going to start with that as a way to fill out a few more of my sets. Picked up a few holes. Hey, Tank. Hey, Void. Hey,
hello there.
Ryan. Thanks for coming.
Hello, everybody.
I don't often use this. For a time, I used. Well, actually, this is from a different place than I thought it was. Never mind.
Yeah, that was just something.
Yeah.
From there.
But I picked up a few more cards to finish out some of the sets that I've already gone over. So, I'll start by.
Ooh,
I need that binder over there.
Which one?
This one.
Okay.
So shove this out of the way. Open this up. Oof. And let's start by looking at what we've got here. Oh, wow, I forgot about that. Let me put that with this. All right. So I did pick up a variety of stuff. So
you want to just switch it so you can see your hands, because it'll be easier.
Yeah, it'll be easier to show off. This stuff is not in order very well at all. In fact, the thing I wanted to say for last is right on top. So let's get this going.
Tomorrow afternoon.
Did you have a sleep?
Yeah.
It's 9 o'clock at night.
What?
Yeah. It's almost bedtime.
I couldn't have supper.
All right. So I found another card for my Portal 3 Kingdoms set, which was reprinted. And actually, this product that they released had 2 Portal 3 Kingdoms cards in it. And I did pick up the other one, but apparently I missed this one earlier. So
when it's
this was a much more economical way to get it.
When it gets dark early and your kid falls asleep in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Or the afternoon.
Yeah, Isabel had to come home early today. So this is from Portal 3 Kingdoms. Good old loyal retainers, a 1/1 for 3. And you can sacrifice it to return a legendary creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Yeah, it has to be on your turn. So, potentially useful card. Probably why it got a reprint. But it's interesting. It doesn't have the original border. It never had flavor text. But it's got the original art. So, it'll fit well enough. And now I've got these backwards.
You need the other binder closer?
Yep. Let's pull this up here. I could have put that on top. And loyal retainers. These are alphabetical. So that goes after Lou B. So that fills in a slot there. I've still got a lot missing in Portal 3 Kingdoms. It's such an awkward. Anyway, I'm not too picky about that set. It's just one that I love for its flavor.
Well, it says so you can sacrifice a card from play and poof, right back into the right deck. Or with the right deck.
Yeah, it could be quite good that way. I also grabbed a, where's black? I also picked up, they reprinted for the first time Overwhelming Forces. Now, the copy of Overwhelming Forces I have in Portal 3 Kingdoms happens to be Chinese. So, I don't read Chinese, so I just picked up an English copy because it was cheap, and that way I've got an easy reference handy if I want to play with it, want to know what it does. I don't have to go digging. I can just throw that in with that for now. I was missing a few slivers.
Some water, not enough.
It itself, the loyal retainers, isn't legendary, so it can't return itself, if that's what you were referring to. But you can get things back. So, Sliver Hive Lord was one of the ones that they, the legendary creatures that came out M15. This would have been after the first 3 waves. So again, it's Sliver creatures you control have indestructible, which is a pretty strong ability. And it's one of each color. It's a 5/5 instead of a 7/7 like all the previous ones, which is I found interesting. But that'll go with my Sliver stuff. I picked up an Raiders, that'll go with my Arabian Knights cards. Just one more common I didn't have, but this is a common I used to actually use quite a bit when I was first learning to play, because it's fairly efficiently costed a 2/3 for 2 compared to other creatures at the time. The downside is you have to attack with it each turn. You can.
Void
So if you-
loves Arabian Knights.
Yeah, so do I. If you do not attack with the raiders, they do 2 damage to you at the end of your turn, but that doesn't count the turn they come into play. So because they don't have haste, so they couldn't attack that turn anyway. Yeah, it sure was. This used to be one that I used to, because it was common, and so was Unholy Strength, and so was Dark Ritual. I could drop a 4/4 on turn 1 with this, and then had a big beat stick to start swinging with. Of course, I emptied half my hand to do it, but it was still fun enough at the time. So once I pull out that binder, then we got some holes to fill in my alliances set.
Oh, hey, I got another.
I didn't quite get them all. I'm still going to be missing after I put these in. Could we
Mom, can I eat downstairs?
Yes, just take a plate.
maybe put a couple sleeves on those?
It doesn't matter which sleeves.
Well, technically they should be black backed because that project I'm going to be outlining
where are
it
your
in
black
this
back
video.
then?
That's the thing I
Oh, you
just
don't know where your
talked
black
about.
back ones are.
I don't know where they disappeared to, and I have
So
to
just
find
any
more.
sleeves for now.
Yes.
Alright.
So browse here from alliances. One of the ones I couldn't. I just found actually browse. I did find a copy of, but I found the reprint version from the Cold Snap deck. But 4 mana, pay 4. Look at the top 5 cards of your library and put one of them into your hand, and remove the remaining 4 from the game. So you can dig to find things fairly quickly, but it is costing you 4 mana. But unlike something like Jumonde Tome, which is drawing a card each turn for 4, not only can you dig a little further with this, at the cost of exiling some of your stuff, but you can do it multiple times a game if you've got the mana. Once great literature, now great literature. I do like that quote. So yeah, there was the version that was reprinted in the Cold Snap theme deck back in 2006. This is the original 1996 version. I like the old card frames better, just in general. I don't think the color palette quite got right either when they reprinted the art. But yeah, I'm just glad to have this version. So that
Hate ball.
fills that hole in a little bit better. Next, we're in green. Some great cards and alliances. I always love the set.
If a fly lands on your binder, I'm totally smushing it.
Okay, well, I'll try not to smush it into the sleeve parts. Anyway. Splintering Wind. 4 cost, pay 3. Splintering Wind deals 1 damage to target creature. Put a Splinter token into play. Treat this token as a 1/1 green creature with flying and cumulative upkeep green. If the token leaves play, it deals 1 damage to you and to each creature you control. This can get nasty. A little bit tricky to manage. There are ways you can come out ahead with it, but my eyes are used to the old borders and color palette as well. Yeah. Honestly, I like the wood grain and the green. I like the marbled.
I like the white borders.
The white borders are pretty clean. So the Splintering Wind goes up here. That fills out that slot. And then I've also got the Tornado for this page. So Tornado is 5 cost enchantment, cumulative upkeep of green, pay 3 and 3 life.
That's a cool art.
For each velocity counter on Tornado, destroy target permanent and put a velocity counter on Tornado. Use this ability only once each turn. Effects that prevent it cannot be used. Loss of life. So it just stays there and gets more and more expensive and more costly, but you can just keep taking out things with it, which is nice for green.
Oh, you don't want to sleep on that one? There's one some not sleeps.
Yeah, this set is not one that I'm going to be pulling out stuff for the vintage project.
I like this one.
Feldegriff at the corner? Yeah, it's a fun little card.
Wait a second, that is alliances, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I got the Phyrexian Portal. So that I never liked this card, but it's certainly flavorful. Artifact for 3, pay 3, target opponent looks at the top 10 cards of your library and separates them into 2 face-down piles. Choose one of those piles and remove it from the game. Search the remaining pile and put one of those cards into your hand. Shuffle the remaining cards into your library. You know this effect if you have fewer than 10 cards. So that is super random. It lets you go and get cards with some choice, but you're really winnowing down your own resources pretty quickly.
When people come in with a comment like that, you're like, okay, are we ready to... Oh, okay.
I wonder if we can read is that they don't want me to read the cards or that they're...
No, they're coming in with a verse from something.
Oh, okay.
So.
All right. Next, we got a couple more slivers. This was the only sliver from wave 3 of slivers that I didn't have a copy of at the time I did the sliver video. So I picked one up. So now I've got at least one of each sliver from all of the first 3 waves of slivers from the Tempest Stronghold wave 1, from the Legions wave 2, and from the Time Spiral block phase 3. So this was the one that was based on Fires of Yogmaya. I also grabbed a Constricting Sliver because it was there and it was cheap and I didn't have one. When this creature enters the battlefield, you may exile target creature an opponent controls until this leaves the battlefield. That's that could be pretty nasty for getting threats out of the way. And then I saw Cloud Chaser Sliver, which looked pretty good. Slivers you control have flying and haste, so it's like a 2-in-1.
If we're gonna keep,
and
sorry, just a comment
about
the person sharing the verse. Not that I'm opposed to what they're saying or anything like that. We probably should keep this, like, because we say anything like political or religious, we try and keep off the channel just because.
Well, we try and keep that, that stuff to a minimum on the channel.
Tank went and deleted it. Okay, thanks, Tank. Honestly, I'm nothing wrong with it necessarily. We just.
The Brooding Saurian. This was the last card I was missing to finish off my Cold Snap set.
This is not really the place for that conversation. If you want to have really real conversation about it, there's other places.
Yeah, you're better to have a place where you can actually have some proper back and forth.
Just throwing verses at people isn't a way to do it.
4/4 for 4 Lizard. At the end of each turn, each player gains control of all non-token permanents he or she owns. So it just helps you.
At your grandparents' house. Well, our grandparents have all passed away, so. But yes, I get what you're saying. Although, I mean, at your parents' place, it happens. We try to avoid it as much as possible because
It depends on the topic.
We don't always agree.
And then.
That's why we try and keep this as a political free.
Sacred
channel.
Ground. Again, I wasn't too worried about the condition. I just wanted to have one so you could see what the card was and what it did. And if I want to use it, I'll probably be throwing it in a sleeve anyway.
Yes, Void, we get the idea.
So 2 cost for an enchantment. Whenever an effect controlled by any opponent puts a land into your graveyard from play, put that land into play. So a very anti-land destruction card, which can be handy in the right situation. Not the last Stronghold card I needed, but I think we're down to 1 card still missing from Stronghold and 1 card still missing from Alliances, but that finished off Cold Snap, so that was nice. And another card for the Portal 3 Kingdoms at the back. Now I'll go, if you can grab the blue binder. No, this blue, obviously.
Oh, it smells as smells toast.
Alright. So, like I said, my idea going forward is a way to actually use my vintage cards a little bit more often. Let's get over to Arabian Knights here. We already looked at this a while ago. Where's black? After white, apparently. There we go. So I'll stick this guy right in here. And that'll...
Wait, is that the same?
Yes, that's...
You have it twice?
Actually, I have 4 of them, but I couldn't fit 4 into 1 pouch, so I split them into 2 pouches. Anyways.
This is what I'm most familiar with about your set. I remember you... I don't know. I'm just... Is this a Legends or...
No. Well, actually, we should probably start with Legends. That would make more sense as we finished up with Legends last time. Lands. Lands are always good.
Yeah, I remember the dual lands and stuff. What's this set? This one is sorry.
This is Legends.
This is Legends.
This
okay.
is Legends.
Which one were you looking at? Was it? Oh wait, you got different sets in that binder. That's why
Yes.
I'm confused. I'm sorry.
So this is sort of my vintage binder. We already looked at the legendary lands when we did the Legends last week, so I'll sort of, I guess I can just mention quickly. The Caracas is probably the best. Pendelhaven, good for pumping 1/1s. They all provide basically just a basic land effect, except they're legendary and have an extra ability. And most of them have been reprinted at some point in time. Actually, I think they all have now, except maybe Teleria up here, which isn't very good, and they don't have banding anymore. So, anyway. Legends artifacts. Yeah, I don't have a lot of these, but I got a couple. Sword of the Ages is used to be potentially pretty scary, but sort of fallen off out of favor. We got the 6 cost. Sword of the Ages comes into play. Tap to tap and sacrifice Sword of the Ages and as many creatures as you choose. Sword does the combined power of these creatures in damage to one target. Sacrifice creatures and sword are then removed from the game entirely. So if you got a lot of creatures on the board and this, you could maybe finish off your opponent or do a lot of damage to one other thing. So it's a neat idea. If the board is gridlocked and neither of you can attack the opponent effectively, this can be a great way to break that tie. But that doesn't happen in modern Magic games very much anymore. Hey, Founder. I've got the Ring of Immortals as well. Now, I like to used to pair this with the Reflecting Mirror from the Dark, because between the two of them, you could protect yourself from a couple of different things. But here's 5 cost, pay 3 and tap it, counter target interrupt or enchantment. So now that's been errated to instant or enchantment, so it actually covers more things. Can only counter spells which target a permanent under your control. This ability is played as an interrupt. Yeah. So I'm just going to go through my English legends. I'm not going to fight with translating Italian for this stream. It's not really relevant to what my plan is anyway. We got a Hellswarm. That's a 1 cost instant. All creatures get -1/-0 until end of turn. The brightness of day turned in an instant to dusk as the swarm descended upon the battlefield. And good old Siphon Soul. This has been reprinted a bunch because it's kind of a multiplayer card, which is at least interesting option for Commander.
Do you have an extra?
It was also reprinted actually in Stronghold, wasn't it?
Do you have an extra card that we could, like a vintage card that we could offer as a giveaway? For once we hit our 3,000 watch hours.
I'm sure we could come up with something. I don't have a lot of extras, but we could probably find something.
I'm just thinking, since we have some Pokemon stuff, we should have something for the Magic.
I've been thinking of options for Magic giveaways, but 7 Soul does 2 damage to each player except the caster.
I don't know what we don't even know what's banned and what's not anymore. I mean, we might have an idea of some of them.
And then you gain a bunch of life for it. And card duplicates.
That's what he thinks we should give away.
Oh, maybe. Who knows? Good old Chains of Mephistopheles. Now, this was a card which I used to have a copy. Neither of these are my original copy. I picked up 2 copies a little bit later on after I traded away my original in a bid to get more dual lands. But this card can be very handy against certain strategies. I had one of these back when Urza Saga came out, and all of a sudden the metagame shifted for powerful decks to decks that loved to spin time spirals and Tolarian Academy to get lots of mana and then draw even more cards and then eventually hit you with enough card draw to make you lose the game that way. But the engine broke down if one of these was on the table, and you could do it fairly quickly. So
that is interesting art.
Yeah. And it's inspired by the tale of what was it called? The tale of Dr. Faustus.
Don't know.
It was a play written by one of Shakespeare's main competitors, who was a contemporary at the time. So, but yeah, very strong. Actually, I should. It's so convoluted. This is a card that they used to use on people applying to become judges for Magic tournaments to make sure they understood how things interacted. Every time a player draws a card, that player must first discard a card from his or her hand. If there are no cards in the player's hand, take the top card from their library and place it in the graveyard instead of drawing a card. This enchantment does not apply to the first card drawn by the player during the draw phase. So, yeah. Any strategies that...
Ryan likes the picture.
Yeah, there we go. Void knows what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're strong. Any sort of card drawing strategies, they really put under control in a hurry. Good old Vampire Bats. This was another card that I like to drop early in black games in my early days. Sometimes
Voids.
slipping
Books.
unholy strengths. Yes, books are fun. For something is amiss, out of place, when mice with wings can wear a human face.
That one has some wear and tear on it.
It sure does. I love the art on this card, though. This is one of the more realistic-looking cards that I had early on. I found just the bats flying.
I wonder what Ezra would think
And
if
it
you
would fit
showed
into a
him that
vampire
picture.
deck. I don't know. I really don't know.
Does he remember being bitten by the bat?
I don't know. Do we want to bring it up? Probably not.
He's
Anyway.
Batman. Bat boy.
Yeah. So, yeah. Stick an Unholy Strength on it, and it's a 2/2 flyer, and you can pay 2 to make it up to 4 damage, which could be quite useful in several situations. But on its own, if you've got the extra mana, it can often fly over some threats and poke for a couple. Not a bad little card.
I'm very sleep deprived.
Another one inspired by books. We got the Headless Horseman. Just a blank 2/2 for 3. Pretty generic, but...
Speaking of the Headless Horseman, I actually saw a clip from Sleepy Hollow from the movie with Johnny Depp.
Yeah. The ghost rides forth to the scene of battle in nightly quests of his head. He sometimes passes along the hollow like a midnight blast.
What was the face? What was the actor that played the Headless Horseman? But you didn't see it till like the very end. What was his name?
I don't recall. Now, this was reprinted in Chronicles, and so, again, copies of it were easier to find.
I know him.
But it was very annoying for us early on, because you couldn't really get through it with creatures. You had to deal with it with removal spells and stuff. Wall of Shadows damage Wall of Shadows receives from creatures it blocks is reduced to 0.
Mm-hmm.
Affects that target only walls, may not target Wall of Shadows. So, yeah, it could be tricky to remove for sure. And your Dwarven Demolition team wouldn't do it either. But actually, I think the reprint of this in Chronicles, they put the wrong expansion symbol on it. So I think it has an Antiquities expansion symbol if you get the white bordered Chronicles version. So that is an interesting little tidbit. Then we've got some blue over here. Start at the bottom. We got AntiMagic Aura. 3 cost, enchant creature. All enchantments on target creature are destroyed.
You guys got
Target
me feeling...
creature cannot be further targeted by instant sorceries or enchantments.
Void says you guys got me feeling competitive. I'm going to build out a new deck on TCG Live.
Nice. Well, speaking of building decks, that's kind of what I have in mind for some of my vintage
Tsunami,
stuff.
is that how you say your name? Welcome in.
Venerean Gold. 2 blue and X. Enchant creature. Put X counters on target creature. Target creature becomes tapped, and when it's cast, and creatures do not untap as normal if they have any of these counters on it. And you remove 1 counter during your upkeep phase, so it'll lock it down for so many turns. Unless you've got a way to edit the counters.
Okay.
Yeah, just Apparently when I'm sick, I don't feel that hungry.
Okay, well,
That
you don't want it. It's fine.
have a little water or something. Make sure you stay hydrated.
Is there a blue Powerade on the
Force
front, or
Spike
just
has been
that?
reprinted. I think this one. I was excited when this got reprinted in 5th edition.
I don't know. That last one.
AntiMagic Aura seems awful. Yeah, well, in this, it's pretty niche because people aren't throwing a lot of enchantments around in the first place. So to protect from them, you know, it's just extra protection for a creature, and it's not the most effective way to do it, to be honest. But yeah, this was a counterspell for 1, and but it could be basically it was like a power sink for 1 sort of a thing. Countered unless its caster spends an extra 1. So it was situational. They had to be tapping out to play something basically. But I used to like throwing it in as a surprise. Boomerang, very popular with stasis decks and just in general could be a useful effect. Return target permanent to owner's hand. This is the original. It's been reprinted a bunch of times in a lot of different sets. Probably not as much recently, I don't know, but back in the day it was. And again, was a staple from Chronicles, I believe, or was it in 4th edition? I don't know, it was reprinted for one of those. And then also in, I think, Mirage and onward. So, call back yesterday and bid time return. Good old little Shakespeare quote. We've got Enchantment Alteration. Yeah. Switch target enchantment from one creature to another, or from one land to another. Controller of the enchantment does not change. The new target of the enchantment must be valid, or the spell has no effect. Treat this effect as if the enchantment had just been cast on the new target. So I don't think that trips enter the battlefield effects. So if you have an enchantment like Bestial Fury where you get to draw a card when it comes into play, I don't think that'll re-trigger it. I think because it's moving, even though it says it treated as though it was just cast. But I think this was for using with things like Control Magic or whatever. If you're just being tricky with enchantments, there you go. There was another way to be tricky. And Psychic Purge, the original version of Guerrilla Tactics, basically. Instead of getting 2 mana for 2, you get 1 damage for 1. And it's blue. So another rare blue direct damage spell. 1 damage to any target, creature or player, for 1. And if a spell cast by an opponent or a permanent under opponent's control causes you to discard this card, opponent loses 5 life. Effects that prevent or redirect damage cannot be used to counter the loss of life. So this can be a nasty surprise if your opponent plays a Wheel of Fortune or something and makes you discard your hand. Oh, look at that. You can take 5 for that, and I'll go get my new cards now. But still, even at a 1 mana for 1 damage, blue doesn't get a lot of that, so I used to like throwing these into my decks every now and then. Let's keep on moving here. Good old white. So we got Clergy of the Holy Nimbus, a 1/1 for 1. Wouldn't hurt. Water's probably good. When clergy are destroyed or take lethal damage, are destroyed, unless opponent pays 1, they regenerate. So usually, when your creatures have regenerate, you have to pay something to make them regenerate. This forces your opponent to pay, or else they regenerate, which is a neat way of doing things. They made a 2/2 for 2 that made your opponent pay 2 for the effect in Time Spiral. There was Knight of the Holy Nimbus, but that was much later down the road. And the little clergy here were just a little nuisance creature at the time, which I rather appreciated the flavor of. Remove enchantments. 1 white instant. Remove all enchantments you control. Remove all enchantments you control, and remove all enchantment cards played on all permanents you control. This spell is cast. If this spell is cast during opponent's attack, also remove all enchantment cards played on attacking creatures. So it's anything sort of in your zone, so to speak. All enchantments you own are returned to your hand. All other enchantments are destroyed. So, again, if you've got enchantments that you just get kickbacks for playing, this could be handy. But, yeah, it's definitely something you have to build around a little bit. Or if your opponent likes playing lots of enchantments that are causing you grief, it could be useful there too. But pretty niche again. Holy Day's been reprinted a bunch. This is basically just your white fog. Creatures attack and block as normal, but none deal any damage. So the Day of Spirits, my soul's calm retreat, which none shall disturb. Greater Realm of Preservation is fun. Basically, you get 2 circular protections in one. So it costs the same as a COP, but you have to pay 2 instead of 1 to activate it. Prevents all damage against you from one red or black source. So it's COP red and COP black in one, but the activation cost is higher. If a source does damage to you more than once this turn, you must pay for each instance of damage, basically. So there you go.
I said I like that art.
Yep, me too. Next, we have... This card is quite irritating. I've pulled this in a Commander game once, I believe, and people were scratching their heads. But, yeah, big 8 cost. Not very effective to play. I think it was banned in tournaments just because it's sort of game-breaking in that, you know, when you're playing a best of 3 or something, it just complicates things to have draws. But put 2 counters on this card. Remove a counter during your upkeep. When you remove the last counter from Divine Intervention, the game is over and is considered a draw. So there's ways to speed that up now with, you know, a Vampire Hex Mage or something. But, yeah, just forces a draw in the game, which is sort of anticlimactic in some ways. And, yeah, it just wasn't very popular. But it definitely stood out to me as being something that changed the rules a bit. Next, I've got Presence of the Master. I really like this card. Specifically, just because I went to university to study physics, and Einstein was a big inspiration to me at one level. So I really appreciate it for the art, if not for nothing else. Presence of the Master, fitting name. My copy is in very rough shape. Very rough shape. Here, I'll show you the back. Or at least at the top here. Where, yeah, extremely rough shape on this card. Which is why I use sleeves. Anyway, while Presence of the Master is in play, any new enchantments cast are countered. It sure is. Yeah. Speaking of...
that is a cool card. The art is really nice, too.
This is awkward.
Sorry, where do you want that?
I don't know. Someplace where it won't spill.
Just ask me when you want to.
Speaking of Einstein, though, my brother gave this to me years ago, and I have since acquired 2 more copies in Italian. So I've got 3 of these, and I've actually built a deck that this is one of the 2 sort of major combo ideas in the deck. So Eureka, and there's Einstein's famous formula, equals MC squared, right on the card. Lovely. So 4 cost with 2 green. Both players may take any permanent in their hand and put it directly into play. Players take turns playing 1 card from their hand until neither wants to play more permanents. No other spells or effects of any kind may be used while Eureka is in effect. If the spell has an X and its casting cost, X is 0. So this could be fun to drop all kinds of big green nasties, or Eldrazi, or any sort of permanent you feel like dropping into play from your hand. And multiple of them, even. So the game can get pretty crazy when you resolve one of these. A lot of fun. Let's go to something a little more basic next. Barbery apes. 2/2 for 2, basically a grizzly bear, except they're apes. Unpredictable in the extreme, these carnivorous apes will prey even upon their own kind.
That sounds nasty.
It does, but it's just a 2/2 for 2. It's not that unpredictable, really, as far as the game goes. We got a monster. This is a 3/6 for 5.
That
Wasn't a
looks
bad
creepy.
rate at the time, but now it's a little underwhelming for sure. After the battle, an eerie silence gripped the forest. The loser's remains were lightly dusted with green.
That looks creepy.
It is creepy.
It's like something that kids would have a nightmare about.
This card I used to think was in Arabian Knights for a time, originally, because the only copies I had were from like 4th edition or 5th edition with just the white bordered reprints without the expansion symbol. And it just seemed like a Arabian flavored card to me. But the Whirling Dervish is a 1/1 for 2 green. Protection from black, which is, always handy if your opponent happens to be running a lot of black. And it gets +1/+1, use counters at the end of each turn, which it does damage to opponent. So if you can sneak in a hit, it gets bigger. And if your opponent's mono black and doesn't have anything that they can block with, it's going to get bigger every turn and be rather a pest to eliminate. So I did enjoy using Whirling Dervish for a while. Next we've got an Avoid Fate. Green counterspell. Not a lot of those around. 1 green, interrupt, counter, target, interrupt, or enchantment. And again, that's been errated to instant now, so any sort of instant or enchantment. Can only counter spells that target a permanent under your control. So it's to protect your stuff. But it's still a green counterspell. It's just limited in what you can use it on.
Lloyd says, I can hear the guy on that card going, tee-hee.
Yep. Floral Spasm. This card is fun just for its name alone. Not a lot of spasms out in the world. 2/2 for 4. If Floral Spasm attacks an opponent and is not blocked, then Floral Spasm may choose to destroy an artifact under that opponent's control and deal no damage. So, yep, it can eat your opponent's stuff, which is kind of neat. Against an artifact-heavy deck can be quite annoying. Although a 2/2 for 4 is kind of meh. Then we've got a Reincarnation. 2 green and 1 instant. If target creature is placed in the graveyard this turn, bring a creature card from your graveyard directly into play under your control. Under the control of the owner of the target creature. Treat this creature as though it were just summoned.
Is that supposed to be an arrow?
I think so.
Oh, that's nasty.
Yeah, kind of. So the creature dies and turns into something else.
Oh. Well.
Is the theme of that card.
Not so family-friendly magic thing.
I suppose in some respects there's going to be a bit of that, but...
Oh, hey.
Oh, yeah. These we already covered in the Legends stream.
They're not so appropriate.
We also covered the kobolds. But there's Crookshank Kobold. And there they go. Crookshank's military boasts a standing army of nearly 24 million. Give or take 22 million. I do like the flavor text and the art on that one. Chain Lightning. Another great common that Legends had. They did a whole series.
That's a cool card.
Inspired by this in Stronghold when we went through that. But for 1 red, and he also had Chain Stasis in Homelands that was inspired by this. It inspired a few things.
It's a really cool card.
It's a sorcery, so you can't play it at instant speed like Lightning Bolt. But Chain Lightning does 3 damage to 1 target, so same effect as Lightning Bolt, except each time Chain Lightning does damage, target or target's controller may then pay 2 red to have Chain Lightning do 3 damage to any target of that player's choice. So, You hit your opponent, or you hit one of your opponent's things with it. If they have red available, they can hit you back or something of yours. And then if you've got red available still, you could hit something else. And this thing can just keep bouncing around and doing all kinds of chaos. It's fun. Usually it's just a sorcery speed lightning bolt, though, because either your opponent doesn't have red, or you just wait till they don't have 2 up at the moment.
I don't know. I just like it because I love lightning. I used to spend hours watching the lightning storms.
Yeah, lightning is fun. Here, you guys. Okay, yeah, it'll be fine. Lots will be fine, yeah. Wall of Earth. 0/6 for 2. Summon wall.
There's a person in there.
Yep, it being blocked, so you can't get at him because of all the ground. The ground shuddered violently, and the earth seemed to come to life. The elemental force contained in the vast wall of earth was trapped, bent to its controller's will. So, in the early sets, there were a lot of walls around, right from like Wall of Wood is a 0/3 for 1, Wall of Swords, which was a 4 for a 3/5 flying. There's just a lot of walls around. That you don't see nearly as many anymore. Giant Strength. So here was red's enchantment to buff creatures. 2 red, target creature gets +2/+2. It is excellent to have a giant strength, but it is tyrannous to use it like a giant. Another Shakespeare quote.
Ooh, do you remember when we went to Prince Edward Island and there was that place, I think it's closed down since then, that we went to, called the Woodley Replicas, and they had all the miniature buildings?
Yeah, that was fun.
And they had the miniature, like a miniature version of the house of where William Shakespeare was born.
I don't remember it specifically, but it wouldn't surprise me.
It was cool.
Blazing Effigy. And it is effigy, although when I was a kid, I used to pronounce it effigy.
Now I'm curious to see.
Because I liked that pronunciation better. Anyways, so here's 2 cost for a 0/3. When placed into the graveyard from play, effigy does 3 damage to target creature. If an effigy is damaged by another effigy in this manner, and then placed into the graveyard, that turn it deals the amount of damage received from the other effigy in addition to its normal 3. So if you've got a few of these and one of them dies, you can stack it into the next, and do more damage that way. But basically, it's kind of like a Ruck Egg in that it's just a 0/3 that sits on the board until it dies, and then you get an effect.
Yeah, apparently there's a new owner that bought it to restore it, but it's not going to be tourist attraction anymore. But they do rent it for events and stuff.
This was one of the first cards I got from Legends when I was younger. Legends was long gone in terms of booster packs, so it was just whatever I could find in trades and things. But Raging Bull, 2/2 for 3, very generic. Worse than the Barbery Apes, technically. But it was from Legends, so it was special to me at the time. And sometimes the Bulls win, and sometimes the Bears win. But the Bulls have more fun. Seems like a comment about some sort of gladiatory contest type setup. But yeah, basically it's just a Grizzly Bear for 3. So more like a Grey Ogre. Anyway. That's what it is. We've already covered the multicolors. So, back to the beginning. And actually, we've got a couple more that we're going to get to for a deck. But, I'll go over the plan here as we start into Unlimited and Beta. So, a couple months ago, I went through my collection and pulled out most of, there's a few exceptions, which we'll get to at the end here once we get through this binder. Like, I still have my primary vintage deck, for example. But anytime I find people to play Magic with these days, mostly they want to play Commander. So 60-card constructed vintage deck doesn't see a lot of use. And even when I do find someone who wants to play in a, standard 60 card, 4 of a kind format. So they usually don't want to play vintage. So anyway, I went through, found what I could, put them in this binder, and then I went and looked at what I had for basic lands, well, lands of any sort. And I had some major holes where I didn't have many unlimited or older. So I went and ordered some extra, especially islands and swamps, so that I'd have enough that I could make some 40 card decks. Now, some of you may have heard of a format called Alpha 40. You build a 40 card deck, no more than 3 of a kind. I think there's a limit on number of uncommons and commons, uncommons and rares you can use, rather. And yeah, you just play with the 40 card decks, similar to old rules.
But is that legal?
Is what legal?
The one or this one?
I mean, it's a marked card in terms, not in terms of deck building, but yeah, it's a damaged card technically because somebody just wrote on this poor old forest.
Oh, who was that?
I don't know. I got it this way.
Oh, I thought you did it.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I had 2 of these actually. I had a forest with white written on it and a forest with blue written on it in blue pen. And I don't know where the one that said blue is gone, but I couldn't find it.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is a little. This is another one I traded for. This is my only unlimited dual land. I do have a bunch of other dual lands. They're very handy for deck building. I tried to get 4 of each, but I never quite got there. Back when I started collecting them, dual lands from Revised, anyway, went for $12 to $15 a piece, and they slowly crept up and up and up since then. So, but this is an unlimited one. I got it a little bit later. I think I had to trade one of my unlimited Chaos Orbs for it, if I recall correctly. It was a long time ago. And there was other things in the trade. It wasn't just 1 for 1, but counts as both a mountain and a plains and is affected by spells that affect either. So, but unlike the Revised Plateau, which I might have one somewhere back here, not handy though. It's got different art. All the other ones kept the same art. But this one, for some reason, they changed the art picture between Unlimited and Revised. I'd heard some rumors as to why. Someone said they just lost the file. I don't know if that's true, but... So I picked up one of them, and I've got some land. So, then we've got a selection of other cards. I filled out a few commons for most colors. Turns out I'm very short on white for Unlimited, but I've got a little bit in other places. Yeah, this is your standard Grizzly Bear. They did a good job on, Alpha Beta Unlimited, the first edition, second edition, whatever, of the set. Just to have general fantasy and other creatures which were iconic, gave you a good base idea for what the creatures would be. And Grizzly Bear, every color got a 2/2 for 3. But green, being the color that was specializing in creatures, got its 2/2 for 2. So that was sort of the special thing about Grizzly Bear.
Oh, I realized.
Don't try to outrun one of Dominaria's grizzlies. It'll catch you, knock you down, and eat you. Of course, you could run up a tree. In that case, you'll get a nice view before it knocks the tree down and eats you. Giant Spider is another handy common to have. Good for dealing with flying creatures, at least until they got too big for it. But
yeah, spiders.
Yeah,
I don't like them crawling on me.
When I was in my early collecting phase, trying to build my first real deck, this was a card that I was able to trade for multiple copies of, and it really helped stabilize my creature base a little. But a 2/2 for 4. Does not fly, but can block flying creatures. While it possesses potent venom, the giant spider often chooses not to paralyze its victims. Perhaps the creature enjoys the gentle rocking motion caused by its captive's struggles to escape its web. Oops, I was going the wrong side of this thing. Next we got War Mammoth. So there's just a 3/3 trample for 4. Pretty generic stats. I didn't think mammoths could ever hold a candle to a well-trained battle horse. Then one day I turned my back on a drunken soldier. His blow never landed, as Micha flung the brute over 10 meters. They're smart animals, elephants in general. And yeah, Arabian Knights came out with Elephant's Graveyard, which you could tap to regenerate elephants. So beyond that, though, it was just a basic creature. Tranquility. All enchantments in play must be discarded, destroyed, basically.
I like that art.
It is neat. Again, it's sort of a niche or sideboard card, not one you want to be using all the time. But handy to have in
I
a
just
pinch.
like streams and rivers, so that's why I like the art.
And here's a giant growth. This was the green boon. So every color got an instant that cost 1 mana and did 3 of something. So this was greens. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. You could use it to save a creature. You could use it to use a small creature to kill a big creature. Yeah. Or just if you have a creature that gets through unblocked, to do more damage to your opponent. It's very useful, but reliant on having, creatures around.
It's a rat.
Yeah, a very big one, because it got a giant. But of all the 5 boons, one for each color, this was probably the best balanced one. And it was the one that sort of stuck around the longest, I think, and got the most reprints.
Fun fact. Rats are banned in Alberta.
Yeah.
Not allowed.
But not cards of rats.
Although you can get permission to drive through with a pet rat if you're driving through.
Yeah, then we got Camouflage. 1 green for an instant. You may rearrange your attacking creatures and place them face down. Reveal which is which only after defense is chosen. If this results in impossible blocks, such as non-flying creatures blocking flying creatures, illegal blockers cannot block this turn. So, way to cause some mass confusion, and especially if you're playing Morph or other face-down creatures, which are already face-down, and trying to keep things randomized but straight. Oh, this could get complicated. But at the time, those didn't exist yet, so...
Oh shit, Lucas didn't get his message yet, did he?
I don't think so.
I asked and I was going to get it and I forgot.
Next, we got Ice Storm. I was happy to get one of these because I lived through a big ice storm that happened in my corner of Ontario and southern Quebec in the 90s. And man, that was an experience which really shaped my thinking at that time in my teens when I was going to high school. And so this is a card that just sort of brought back to my mind all of reality and the joys of living in Canada in some respects. But yeah, I understand that this card has gotten its first reprint since Unlimited, or is getting it, in one of the new Marvel themed shoot, what's it called?
Secret Lair?
Yeah, Secret Lair. So you get the Marvel X-Men character Storm, who is, I think it's in her Secret Lair. You can get a copy of Ice Storm now, but I still like the original. Well, this isn't original, it's unlimited, but whatever.
Oh.
Destroy a land, basically, you get a Greenstone Rain. It's not a bad card. Berserk is even better. Now, this one has been reprinted a few times, I think. It was first reprinted in From the Vault Exiled, I think. Anyway, I think it was like the second From the Vault, and I got a couple of copies from that. So I've actually got a playset of Berserks, but only one from Unlimited. Very handy card, both on offense or defense in a way. So for 1 green, until end of turn, target creature's current power doubles and it gains trample ability. If it attacks, target creature is destroyed at the end of turn. The spell cannot be cast after the current turn's attack step is complete. So, this can be handy if your opponent's attacking you with an annoying but smallish creature, and it'll deal you more damage but die at the end of the combat, or use it on one of your own creatures to make it bigger and deal a lot more damage. Very handy with Fork. And you could play multiple Berserks or copies of Berserk, or start with a giant growth and then Berserk. And just this doubling of power can quickly get you up to 20 damage in some situations and win you the game pretty easily. But it wasn't uncommon, and it was stopped. They stopped printing it originally after Unlimited, so
Wait, this is
it's not the easiest one to find. We're still doing Unlimited at this point.
Okay. How much is it for a pack of Unlimited now?
Oh, jeepers. I wouldn't want to guess. I would guess you would be easily thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars. Wheel of Fortune. When I was growing up, this was like a $10 card from Revised. Obviously, Unlimited would be a bit more. So it surprised me to find out how much they're going for lately. I've got a rather fairly nice condition one here from Unlimited. But, yeah. 3 cost, both players must discard their hands and draw 7 new cards. And again, it's all players, basically. If it's a multiplayer game. Very strong card. Great for red, because red is big on gas and refilling its hand and doing more aggressive things. So, but basically, it was always just the weaker version of Time Twister, to me. The one that didn't get canceled after Unlimited and managed to survive as far as Revised. And Time Twister was the weakest of the Power 9 and the cheapest and least interesting. So, yeah, but it was a staple. I mean, even though it was restricted, people would throw a copy. If they were playing red, it would go in almost any red deck. So I always was glad to have a copy or two kicking around to use for my red decks. Speaking of red, we're switching to that now. So, red also got a 2/2 for 2, but with a downside. Ironclaw orcs cannot be used to block any creature with power more than 1. So they're a little cowardly and will avoid fighting bigger things where they can. Generations of genetic weeding have given rise to the deviously cowardly Ironclaw clan. To say that orcs in general are vicious, depraved, and ignoble does not do justice to the Ironclaw. But red has got a lot of common creatures, and it's an easy color to get a bit of a curve on. There's their 2/2 for 3 gray ogre. The ogre philosopher Nerdrel believed the purpose of life was to live as high on the food chain as possible. She refused to eat vegetarians and preferred to live entirely on creatures that preyed on sentient beings. That's one sort of life goal, I suppose.
Be a vegetarian. Unless you like bacon.
The Huron Manitar. The art for this was used to promote magic all over the place. It's not a horrible creature. 2/3 for 3 is better than the Grey Ogre anyway.
Good looking ogre, says tank. I went that one.
Yeah. Better looking than the Hasran Ogre from Arabian Knights anyway. But the Manitar is kind of handsome.
I like the art on this one.
Yeah, like I said, it was one of their more famous arts early on. The Manitars of Huron Mountains are known for their love of battle. They are also known for their hymns to the dead, sung for friend and foe alike. These hymns can last for days, filling the mountain valleys with their low, haunting sounds. They did a good job, even for base creatures, with the flavor text. And again, a lot of the art as well, to really just give you a sense of what the creature is and how it behaves and what it does. Here we've got giants. The basic Hill Giant was just a 3, 1 red and 3 for a 3/3. This is the uncommon version of a giant, so it's a little tougher. Here you get 4 still, but you need 2 red, and it's a 3/4 instead of a 3/3. And it's got an extra ability. You can tap it to make one of your own creatures a flying creature until end of turn. That creature, which must have toughness less than Stone Giant's power, is destroyed at end of turn. So, if you got a creature small enough that the Stone Giant can pick it up and throw it at your opponent, it can be flying and harder to block, but then dies at end of turn. So, quite flavorful. And this is what comes to my mind when you get to the part in The Hobbit where you hear the dwarves hear crashing and banging from stone giants battling each other in the mountains. Is giants throwing rocks and things at each other, not the mountain coming to life as a giant, human-shaped creature. I don't know why they chose to go that direction, but to me, this makes much more sense as a stone giant than what they did in the Hobbit movies. What goes up must come down is the simple flavor text, and it's fitting to what the card does. Then you've got the rare version. So you had Stone Giant, you had the common was Hill Giant, and then you had the rare, two-headed giant of Forius. So, 5 cost, a little bit more expensive. For a 4/4, a little bit bigger. It's got trample, and may block 2 attacking creatures. Divide damage between them however controller likes. So if I want to do 1 to this creature I blocked and 3 to that creature I blocked, great. Or whatever. So, none know if this giant is the result of aberrant magics, Siamese twins, or a mentalist's schizophrenia. I kind of like this series, though, of just giants getting a little bit more powerful from the common to the uncommon to the rare in Alpha Beta Unlimited. I was very glad to pick up one of these because it was a card that I'd always heard of, and they never did reprint it as far as I'm aware of. But there have been many cards that have been inspired by it. So you can get Frisian Brigade in Weatherlight, I think. And they made a 2-headed dragon, which could block 2 creatures or needed 2 creatures to be blocked by as well. And then they took the need 2 to be blocked by part when they did 2-headed Sliver. And so the original ability here, able to block multiple creatures, sort of fell off after the 2-headed dragon, which is unfortunate in my opinion. But I do like the red giants. And speaking of series, you had the rare Shivan Dragon, which was the most iconic.
It's cute.
Red creature, but this is the uncommon version, the Dragon Whelp.
I think it's cute.
Cute little dragon hatchling. And the flavor text, oh, to be a dragon of silkworm size or immense. From Mariam Moore. But here, for 4 cost, you get a 2/3 flyer. Same size as the Minotaur base, but it costs you 1 more for flying. And it's got a fire-breathing ability, but it's sort of limited. 1 red for +1 attack until end of turn. If more than 3 is spent this way, then Dragon Whelp is destroyed at end of turn. So you can make it a 5/3 if it's got no opposition. If you're fighting a Sarah Angel, you could get it up to 4 so they can kill each other. Or even it could even take out the Shivan Dragon with 5. But if you go beyond that, it's gonna sort of not survive using that much red mana. So, but it was cute and it's fairly powerful, really. Look at the other flyers that are available in Alpha Beta Unlimited. For its cost, it's pretty good, in my opinion. Oh, we got an Earth Elemental. We're getting into bigger creatures now. 5 cost, similar to the 4/4 trample, two-headed giant, but this one is just a 4/5 earth elemental.
It looks like gross.
Yeah, well, if we had the fire elemental, that's 5/4, and kind of busty.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this is earth elementals have the eternal strength of stone and the endurance of mountains, primordial, connected to the land they inhabit. They take a long-term view of things, scorning the impetuous haste of short-lived mortal creatures. There were 4 uncommon elementals in Alpha Beta Unlimited. So you had the Fire Elemental and the Earth Elemental in red. Fire Elemental was 5/4, but otherwise same casting cost. Just had the 1+1 attack and 1 less in toughness. Water Elemental was in blue, and that had the same stats as the Fire Elemental. It was also 5/4. And it cost 2 blue and 3. And then the most famous and most used one, I think, was the Air Elemental, which was 2 blue and 3, so same cost 5, and it was only a 4/4, but it had flying. So, quite popular there. And then I got Disintegrate. I've got a couple of those. Disintegrate does X damage to one target. If the target dies this turn, is removed from the game entirely and cannot regenerate. Yeah. So, basically, it was the other version of Fireball most of the time. An X damage spell. Handy enough. And there's the red boon. Lightning Bolt. This one's... Ooh, the other one's in better shape. Whatever. It's a lightning bolt. It's 1 red for 3 damage to one target. Very useful. Very efficient. It was actually the second of the boons to be removed from print. First, they got rid of Ancestral Recall. Then they got rid of Lightning Bolt, figuring it was the next most powerful. And Dark Ritual stayed around for much, much longer. Initially. But now they're more likely to reprint Lightning Bolt than they are Dark Ritual. Dunkler Sog from German, or in English, Drain Life. This was Black's sort of X spell, except it didn't use X. I gave up vaping. Okay.
Don't read that yet.
Yeah, it's a little off topic. 2 black and a colorless sorcery. Drain Life does 1 damage to a single target for each black spent in addition to its casting cost. So again, your X, if it was an X spell, which it was formatted that way in 5th edition, I think, has to be spent only in black. Caster gains 1 life for each damage inflicted. If you drain life a creature, you cannot gain more life than the creature's toughness.
I'm sorry, I'm not even giving that person a second chance.
There's a good old Singear Vampire. So this one went into the category with Air Elemental and Sarah Angel as the 4/4 flying creatures for 5 from Alpha and Beta. And all 3 of those were used heavily. If you were in blue, white, or black, you had a good chance that you were playing Air Elemental, Sarah Angel, or Singear Vampire. Air Elemental sometimes was superseded by the things, but yeah, all 3 did see fairly regular use. And this one has the extra ability of Vampire gets +1/+1, a +1/+1 counter each time a creature dies during a turn in which Singear Vampire damaged it.
I don't even know what... I don't know. I don't know why people have to...
Terror was the go-to removal spell for black. 2 cost, instant, destroy target creature without the possibility of regeneration. Does not affect black creatures and artifact creatures. So, black was immune to terror, which sort of made for an interesting dynamic and a reason a lot of people liked to play black. Because it was, a lot of black's removal spells had that clause on them. Next, we've got Sinkhole. Number of these, 2 black, destroy any one land. So, like Stone Rain, there's Stone Rain at the bottom there.
Dragon. Was Ryan just... Did you have another one, or is Ryan just behind?
I don't have a Shivan Dragon from Unlimited, unfortunately. My copies are of Shivan Dragon came in 4th edition and revised. And even then, back when I started playing, the 3 most expensive cards in revised were all $20, and it was Shivan Dragon, was Vesuvian Doppelganger, and Fork. So 2 red, 1 blue. There were some other good cards, like for $15, you could get a Royal Assassin in black, or you could get, the dual lands, as I said, were sort of $12 to $15 range. But, yeah, Shivan Dragon for a while was up there as a very sought-after card. It's really fallen off the map these days. Lich is
That's creepy looking.
Yeah, it's an interesting card to try to use. I do have a Mirror Universe, which combos nicely with it, from Italian Legends. But, yeah, this enchantment for 4 black, so very, very color intensive. You lose all life. You gain life. If you gain life later in the game, instead you draw a card from your library for each life. For each point of damage you suffer, you must destroy one of your cards in play. Creatures destroyed this way cannot be regenerated. If you lose if this enchantment is destroyed, or if you suffer a point of damage without sending a card to the graveyard. So your life gets tied to your permanence, and gaining life lets you draw cards. There are ways to abuse that. Most often, this was a way to get your life to 0, which could then be swapped with your opponent's life total using Mirror Universe. That's the big combo I remember with Lich. There are some other things you can do with it, though. And we've got False Orders. You decide whether and how one of defending creatures blocks. Though you can't make a choice the defender couldn't legally make. Play after defender has chosen defense, but before damage is dealt. So you can swap and say, no, you're not actually going to block my knight. You're going to send that over to get eaten by my dragon instead. Or something to that effect. Or, no, that's actually not going to block at all and just let my creature through. Which can also be rather annoying. This was a card, I believe, which was initially on the reserved list when they came out with it. But because they decided later that the reserved list was only going to be for rare cards, they stripped off all the common and uncommon cards that were on the reserved list at the time.
What does the reserved list mean again?
Cards that they've stated they'll never reprint again.
But didn't they lie about that?
Or, well, they'll never reprint in a tournament legal format. So they printed... They did make some exceptions initially, where they allowed themselves to print premium versions of some of them. And then they got in hot water for that. And most recently, they did the Magic 30 thing, where they reprinted pretty much most of the sort of alpha beta set, except with different backs, so you couldn't use them in tournaments.
Oh, okay.
So, there's that. Anyway, we got a Dwarven Demolition Team. 1/1 for 3, tap to destroy a wall. And again, walls were more common at this time, although I don't have a lot in Unlimited edition myself. Foolishly, Najib retreated to his castle at El Abara. The next morning, he was dead. In just one night, the dwarven forces had reduced the mighty walls to mere rubble. Stone Rain, again, destroy a land. I don't have a lot of white in Unlimited. But here's a Mesopegasus.
Pretty.
I always kind of liked this card. Flying and banding, 1/1 for 2 mana. Before a woman marries in the village of Sursi, she must visit the land of the Mesopegasus. Legend has it that if the woman is pure of heart and her love is true, a Mesopegasus will appear, blessing her family with long life and good fortune. 30th anniversary with a was a wasteful of everyone's time. Yeah, that was a very, very disappointing product idea they had, or celebration idea, which almost nobody could take part in because it was so ridiculously expensive and kind of a questionable idea to begin with, but it might have been interesting if it had been actually affordable. And for white, we've also got Disenchant.
Maybe they should have done something like
Destroy target artifact or enchantment.
put like a 25th
for
or
2.
30th celebration thing on the card or something like that. At least it would have been a difference, like, and just made it cheaper. I don't know, but
Maybe.
because then it wouldn't be the same card. It would be like a, you know what I mean?
I know a lot of people who are still waiting on them to just make snow versions of all the dual lands. Because
That'd be cool.
they're on the reserved list, so they're not allowed to reprint them, and they're getting ridiculously expensive. But, you know, just having a snow tundra or something could be could be a way around the reserved list and still make functional cards that people could play with. I don't know what I think of the idea personally, but it's something they could in theory do, I suppose. Jump. An instant. Target creature gains flying until end of turn. They don't make a lot of cards like this anymore. They did reprint similar cards with like a cantrip or something where it cost 2, but you got to draw a card as well. Or they'll put an effect like that on a charm sometimes. Here's Phantasmal Terrain. 2 blue, enchant land. Target land changes to any basic land type of caster's choice. Land types in this type is set when cast and may not be further altered by this enchantment. So, pretty niche card. If you've got a lot of Swamp Walk cards or Island Walk cards, things like that, could be useful. Or just to mess if your opponent only has one mountain, then they lose the ability to use red until they find another. Or it could be useful with things like Sea Serpent here. So Sea Serpent is a fairly big creature for the time, 5/5 for 6 mana. Cannot attack unless opponent has islands in play. Sea Serpent is destroyed immediately if at any time its controller has no islands in play. So this is a way to, the Phantasmal Terrain would be a way to give your opponent an island so that you could attack with your Sea Serpent. Legend has it that serpents used to be bigger, but how could that be?
What the?
I'm not sure.
David Staggs want a moderator? I mean,
they're around usually.
Tank's around.
Yeah,
I mean,
and so are you. So
I'm
there's
here
that.
too.
Power Sync. Now this is the original counter spell for just 2 blue was an uncommon. Power Sync was a common, so it was a little easier to get a hold of. Target spell is countered unless its caster spends X more mana, where you got the X in the casting cost. Caster of that spell can't choose to let it be countered. If caster doesn't have enough mana, all available mana from lands and mana pool must be paid, but the spell will still be countered. So this can be a way not only to counter a spell, but sometimes to tap an opponent out if you're going to try and lock them down to stasis or something. It can be quite annoying. But usually it was just another handy counter spell, because there weren't a lot to choose from back at the time. There was Spell Blast, but that could be quite expensive, because it was also a blue and X, where X was the spell's casting cost. And we looked at Boomerang. This was the sort of earlier version, I suppose you'd say. 1 blue is an instant return target creature to its owner's hand. So instead of target permanent, it's just target creature. But it only costs 1 instead of 2.
You just want a moderator there to... I mean, there's not really much going on right now.
I think they were asking if they could be a mod. Is what he's saying.
No, it's not, because they asked, can I have a moderator? We have lots of mods, so we don't really need any mods right now, if that's what he was asking.
Invisibility was another card which I think was on the reserved list early on. 2 blue, target creature can be blocked only by walls. So unless it's a physical barrier that's just sitting there in their way, you know, it could sneak by anything else if it's invisible. Kind of a neat concept. Not the best of cards, though. Then we've got the iconic Prodigal Sorcerer, also known as Tim.
That's cool art. I like it.
I do too. So it's a 1/1 for 3 in blue. Tap to do 1 damage to any target. Very useful little ability, especially if you get more than one in play. Occasionally, a member of the Institute of Arcane Studies acquires a taste for worldly pleasures. Seldom do they have trouble finding employment. And then for blue, we've also got Phantom Monster. I don't have an unlimited version of Air Elemental, unfortunately. But this Phantasm for 4 is still a 3/3 flyer, which isn't bad. A little bit better than a War Mammoth or a Hill Giant, typically, just because flying is a stronger ability than Trample or no ability. While like a ghastly rapid river through a pale door, a hideous throng rushed out forevermore, and laugh, but smile no more. Edgar Allan Poe. Alright, now we're into beta. I used to have 4 beta swamps, but I can only find 3, but at least it's one of each art. Not sure where the 4th one went.
Is it on a deck?
I only ever had the 1 beta island, however. It's got a damaged corner, sadly.
We have cards everywhere in this
So that's why I grabbed some unlimited ones. Because, like I said, the Alpha 40, if you've heard of it, is the idea for sort of the format. But I'd like to make 40-card decks just out of the cards I have available from this binder. And starting off with the game as it stood in 1993, the first year of its release. So I don't have enough alpha to do a 40-card deck. I've only got 6 alpha cards. Even with beta, I don't have enough to really make it work. But if I include Unlimited, which was also printed in 1993, and Arabian Knights, which was also printed in 1993, then I've got a fair bit to work with. And, yeah, unfortunate. Some of these aren't in the best shape. But that's why we use sleeves.
Yeah, Tank just says that he was thinking they were asking if they could be a mod.
Yeah, that's what I was referencing earlier.
Yeah, no, I just...
Anyway, so the planes, you got the 2 similar ones here with the clouds, one with trees, one without, and then the darker format one up there. I've got a couple of those.
We usually wait till we have people that we have had around for a while before we add any new mods or people we know from other places.
I've only got 2 pictures of a forest, and I've got more of this one by far. But, and I've got most of this picture for mountains. I think I got more mountains than any other for beta.
I like the snow-covered mountains.
Yeah, they're nice. A lot of these basic lands, they did a good job finding artists for the initial release.
I bet your mountains are covered in snow right now.
I'm going to add to this in a little bit here.
Hey, wait, you know. You see them every day when you work.
Yeah.
They covered in snow?
Well, I assume so. It was snowing and everything was covered in snow, but unfortunately it was also cloudy and I couldn't see the mountains.
Oh, that's
so. So we got a power leak. 2 cost, enchantment. Target enchantment costs 2 extra mana each turn during the upkeep, so it gives it an upkeep of 2. And if target enchantment's controller cannot or will not pay this extra mana, Power Leak does 1 damage to him for each unpaid mana. So you stick this on your opponent's enchantment, and they're paying 2 mana, or for each one they don't spend, up to a life instead. It can be quite annoying, but means your opponent needs to have an enchantment, or it's useless. So there's that too. Or if they find a way to get rid of their enchantment. And then you got Creature Bond. If target creature is destroyed, Creature Bond deals an amount of damage equal to the creature's toughness to the creature's controller. And then we've got The only artifact I have in here, although I have another one to put in here shortly once we get to my vintage deck. Howling Mine. So Howling Mine costs 2, and each player draws 1 extra card during each of his or her draw phases. I forgot about this, and I found it a little bit later when I was putting this binder together, because it got put with a stack of Howling Mines, which all have this art, but were all from different editions. So I had an Unlimited, a Revised, a 4th edition, and a 5th edition Howling Mine, all with the same art, just different printings and different, formattings otherwise. So there's that. But yeah, this was just a little bit out of order here because I didn't sort this as best I can. Now we're into beta.
I just want to check something. Okay. Sorry, I'm just checking the power level.
Okay. So, beta. Some of the first beta cards I'd found from my local card shop growing up. Here was Pestilence. A bit of a gross card. 4 to play, enchantment. You can pay a black to do 1 damage to each creature and both players. Pestilence must be discarded at the end of any turn in which there are no creatures in play at the end of the turn. So once it's cleared off all the creatures on the board, the contagion dissipates. Kind of neat. Frozen Shade, another Edgar Allan Poe quote. And it's just a 0/1, and you can pay a black to give it +1/+1 at any time, so it can change its shape depending how much mana you have available to whatever size you need. It's very ominous in that way. There are some qualities, some incorporate things that have a double life, which is thus made a type of twin entity which springs from matter and light in evinced in solid and shade. They've made a lot better shade creatures over the years, but that was the original. And most of the ones they made immediately following it cost 4. So it was still one of the cheaper options for a while anyway. Then we've got Drudge Skeleton. This was a great little one to put out to stall if you were in black. A 1/1 for 2, and you can pay a black to regenerate it. So bones scattered around us joined to form misshapen bodies. We struck at them repeatedly. They fell, but soon formed again with the same mocking look on their faceless skulls. Can be tough to get rid of.
Parcel coming.
Although there were more things at the time that limited regeneration than there are now. That's true too. Good old Dark Ritual. This was the Black Boon. So add 3 black mana to your mana pool for 1. Yeah, like I said, it stuck around longer than Lightning Bolt and was printed in every base set until, 7th edition? Something like that. And then it was also printed in Ice Age and in Tempest and in Urza's Saga and in Mirage and, just about any core, or main set for a block or anything had Dark Ritual. Eventually they decided it was a little bit warping to the mana curve and decided to get rid of it. But honestly, I don't think it's that unbalanced. It got crazy once they came out with abilities like Storm and things like that, but you are giving up an extra card to play something a little faster, so there is some inherent balance to it, I find. And then I've got a Sinkhole here with the black border. I already showed Sinkholes, so just another way to destroy a land, more efficient than some of the others. Here's that Hill Giant I was mentioning sooner. So 3/3 for 4, common. Fortunately, hill giants have large blind spots in which a human can easily hide. Unfortunately, these blind spots are beneath the bottoms of their feet. I always found that amusing. And it's meant to be. But basically, it's your standard giant. I don't have a lot of these color hoser type cards from these early editions, but this is one.
Peg says it's true, though.
Yeah. So, Life Force, 2 green, enchantment, pay 2 green, destroy a black spell as it is being cast. So, that's counter a black spell. This ability is played as an interrupt and does not affect black cards already in play. Yeah, so it's counter target black spell for 2 green. Very annoying if you've got this on the board for a black player, if they don't have a way to get rid of enchantments.
Is that an egg?
Kinda. Egg or an embryo or something. The beginnings of life in some form. And here's the white boon. So 1 white. Gain 3 life or prevent up to 3 damage from being dealt to a single target. Probably the weakest of the 5, but still useful to save a creature that was going to be killed with damage. Gaining some life could keep you alive for a turn, maybe, but usually you're better off to try and keep one of your creatures alive, I find, if you're going to use this. And we've got some blue cards from beta.
Ooh. Have you showed this one yet?
Not recently, but when I did the alpha cards, I did, yeah. So here's, unlike Jump, which gives flying until end of turn, Flight is an enchant creature for a blue that target creature gains flying permanently. So that's not as good for a surprise, but otherwise better. There's another copy of Power Sync.
That's one that you thought was a beta card, right, when you bought it?
Yeah, well, one of them.
Well, I think you should still show it, because you thought it was beta when you got it.
I'll show it briefly just for... Anyways. Here's a Psionic Blast. So blue didn't get much direct damage, but here's one of them. The Psychic Purge was another early one. But here, Psionic Blast does 4 damage to any target, but 2 damage to you as well. So it's got a drawback. Costs 3, does 4, a little bit more than Lightning Bolt, but it's also more painful than Lightning Bolt and more costly than Lightning Bolt. And then we've got a couple of control magics. Classic blue for control decks. 2 blue and 2 enchant creature. You control target creature until this enchantment is discarded or the game ends. So yeah, you just gain control of target creature. And this is what binds the creature to your control, so it's got to stay enchanted. That's the effect of the time. And then I've got a few more lands and my alpha cards here, my 6 alpha cards. An Unholy Strength, the Icy Manipulator, autographed by Douglas Suller. This is the one. Do I have another? Yes, here's another card. So you can see. No, you can't see this one. That was useless. Anyway, they misspelled his name. I have another card handy. Anyway. Icy Manipulator was a handy card because it's an artifact. You can pay 4. And to cast it, pay 1 and tap it to tap down because it's a mono artifact. Any land, creature, or artifact in play on either side. So that would combo with the Howling Mine. You could tap it before your opponent gets to draw a card, and then after you'd drawn a card, basically. So, but yeah, that's an uncommon. My only uncommon from Alpha. But I've shown these before. But, again, if we're playing 40 card 93, using the cards I got in this binder, that was my idea, is that I could challenge somebody from chat. So 93 would include Arabian Knights. If that goes well, we could even try expanding it to Antiquities or some of the other sets, which I've shown before. And basically, we'd do a challenge where you'd get to go through, the contestant would get to go through I'd flip through the binder. You tell me which cards to grab. Grab 40 cards to build a 40-card deck. And then we'd play. I'd go through afterwards, whatever was left over, build myself a 40-card deck from the same card pool, and would play a game or maybe a best of 3 against each other. And you would get someone to play for you. We'd play a physical game here on the table. Probably Angela would play for you, and I would play for myself. And if you could beat me, you'd win a prize, and we'd have different prizes. If that sounds interesting, let me know. I'd love to give it a try.
You'd have to be very patient with me, and maybe.
Well, it could be a little bit interesting with the timing thing, or we could just do chat in general. But then it's harder to pick a winner if they do win.
Tank says it sounds fun.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought it was a neat idea. Now, I've got a few more cards to add to the binder here from my vintage deck, which I never did pull the cards out of because I like to keep it together, but should I give it a shuffle? Let's just go through it. I sort of had it sorted, so all the more interesting stuff is at the front anyway. But, yeah, here's a Lotus Petal, just from Tempest. Handy way to get something out a little quicker. Tap and sacrifice it for a mana of any color. Cool. Yeah, art inspired by Black Lotus, which was, get 3 mana of any color. Very powerful artifact, meant to be mythical in some respects. And, yeah, they thought that by cutting it down to 1/3 of its effect, that it would be a fair enough card, because you're still giving up a card, just like Dark Ritual for it. But, yeah, it was just too strong. Being an artifact, you could play it in any deck, and it was a very strong effect for decks that, what was I going to say? Combo decks and things that just wanted to do things quickly. Wasteland is the fixed strip mine. Strip mine was tap for a colorless or tap to destroy a non-basic land. Strip mine was to destroy any land. They fixed it by making it destroy a non-basic, so you couldn't destroy your opponent's basic lands with it.
Depending who you do, you could possibly even invite somebody into the stream to play the game.
Oh, possibly. Mishra's Factory. Add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool, or to pump an assembly worker, or you can pay a colorless to make it an assembly worker. These are very handy at dodging removal, because on your opponent's turn, unless you need to make it block, it's not a creature. So sorcery speed removal can't hit it. It's interesting because when you turn it into a 2/2 artifact creature, it's still a land, and it's an artifact, and it's a creature. So it's 3 out of the 4 permanent types at the time it was printed. There have been other permanent types added since, but so it's a very interesting card. You can also tap it to give itself +1/+1. The rules for how that works when it's blocking have changed a bit over the years. I've got 2 of these with the spring art from Antiquities, and then 2 with the fall art later in the pile from 4th edition. There's an Antiquities strip mine. Again, I've shown this Antiquities stuff before because I showed Antiquities about a month ago, I think. Candelabra of Tawanos. Untap X separate lands, so great way to get more use out of your special lands. Or to fix your mana if you need more of certain mana types. Now, here's a fun one. This one can go in the binder too.
Why have I not seen that one?
Because Mana Drain was, at the time, a different version of Counterspell that had plus and minus to it. 2 blue, counter target spell, just like the original Counterspell, except at the beginning of your next turn, next main phase, add X mana to your mana pool, where X is the spell's casting cost. At the time, mana burn was still very much a thing. So if you couldn't find a way to use the extra colorless mana, you would end up taking that much damage. But if you could, bonus for you, you got extra mana, and you could play something big sooner. So it's definitely a good card. This was also a card which many people were hoping they would reprint, and for a time they were dead set. from what I've heard anyway, I never looked up official confirmation. They said that, you know, the entire dev team would have to be taken out of the picture before they would ever allow this card to be reprinted. Well, now they've reprinted it a whole bunch of times, so that's sort of gone out the window. But it was a card that was highly sought after for its power and its mystique for many years. And I managed to get some Italian copies as well, so I was up to 3 copies for a while.
The Italian ones are brighter.
Yeah, the color palette, they just used a generally darker
I like
palette.
it better, a little darker.
Some art it looks better that way, but interestingly, if you look at the bubbles here, and then on the second one, there's a couple little print dots that sort of fit in with the bubbles. Oh, excuse me. Sneezing's not good. Anyway. And then here's the most recent reprint for Mana Drain.
I don't like it.
It's definitely different, isn't it? They made it in one of these newspaper cards from Thunder Junction.
I don't like it.
So it's, you know, I didn't have a 4th Mana Drain, so this is a way to get it, but fighting fire with fire ineffective, reports Flammable Wizard. So yeah, I'm not overly impressed with it either, but
bless you, by the way.
if you're looking at getting Mana Drain, it's definitely the cheapest version to acquire right now, I think.
Do you have Serene Master?
I don't believe so, and I'm pretty sure it's not something that was printed in 1993.
Okay.
Anyway, I do have a Chaos Orb. I've had 3 Chaos Orbs over the years. My first 2 were unlimited, and they both had an interesting, you know, one of these little print dots like was on these. They had something like that right next to the green mana dot on the back of the magic card. So, right next to the green dot there on the side of it, there was sort of an ink print dot on both of my unlimited ones. Slightly differently positioned. And eventually I traded those away and was able to pick up a beta version. So this is one of only 2 beta rares that I own, I believe. Very handy card. Technically not allowed in Vintage because it's manual dexterity card, but that never bothered anyone I played with. So we just had fun with it. Very much less effective in the summertime if you've got a fan near the table. Much harder to aim if there's a crosswind.
Couple comments at the end there.
N1NW white.
Yeah.
So I think that's a 2-cost 0/2 human monk ability where this creature blocks attacking creatures. It swaps power with the attacking creature. Okay. It's awesome that you have the Chaos Orb. Yeah, it's one of my favorite cards. Just fun. Fairly effective at getting rid of sometimes a very problematic card that your opponent's giving you headaches with. Sometimes just a stack of your opponent's land. They've tried to, in unofficial, whatever, Magic 40 rules or whatever they've come up with, they've tried to make an errata of it where it only hits one thing, but that's never how it was designed. It was designed where it could take out multiple things, and if it bounced onto your side of the table, it could take out your things.
Didn't you play that against me once when you were teaching me how to play?
Oh, probably.
And it made me so mad that that's probably one of the reasons why I never played you again.
And here's my other beta rare. This was my second ever piece of power, of the Power 9. There was a card shop in Orleans, which is a suburb of Ottawa, Ontario, which I used to go to quite a bit. And they had this in their display case for a while. And I was able to bargain the guy down on his price a little bit. It's not in the best of shape, but it is an iconic card from Alpha Beta Unlimited, and one I'm very glad to have. If I had to, at the time when I got these, like I said, this was the second of the Power 9 that I had been able to acquire. and definitely one that was a highlight for me, just because it was one of those cards that everybody knew about and wished they had. Very strong ability to take an extra turn. You get to draw another card. You get to make another attack. You get to untap all your stuff. You can just do a lot with it. And usually a card like this, when they reprinted Time Warp and things like that, it would cost about 5. Like, just so much better. And one of my top few cards in value for sure. This is the first of the Power 9 that I'd gotten. I've told this story before. The Ancestral Recall, which is the blue boon. They knew it was going to be very strong, which is why they made it a rare instead of commons like all the other boons. And they stopped printing it after Unlimited. But 1 blue gets you 3 cards, or you can force your opponent to draw 3 cards in a situation where that'll be beneficial to you.
Isn't like if they're near the end of the deck or something?
But possibly, or if there's, a penalty for drawing cards on them for something else you have, something like that.
Okay.
But usually you just use it to draw more cards for yourself for a very cheap cost of 1 at an instant speed. This is the first piece of the Power 9 that I got, and I got it by trading in my set of alliances, which was the second set that I ever built. Shortly after I started playing, it took me a long time to build it, and I did like the set very much, but when the opportunity came that I could get my hands on one of the Power 9 by trading away the set that I'd built, plus a few extra rares, I jumped on it, and I've had it ever since, and greatly happy with it. So, and in many cases, well, I won't get into that, but definitely happy to have it, and it went very nicely when I got the chance to pick up the Time Walk to go with it.
Apparently.
Which isn't.
Ancestral Recall.
That's the 30th anniversary version.
Oh, okay.
That one is.
Yeah.
So.
There's a couple, okay.
Yeah. Collector's Edition or Magic 30, they're not. Then this is my third piece of the Power 9, and I only have 3 in, official versions.
That's how much this card
Very bad shape.
What is it selling for?
Currently thereabouts, yes. It is one of my more valuable cards.
Wow.
This one, for sure.
Wow.
But this one, even though it's in such bad shape, is probably worth more than even the beta
Your Black
Time
Lotus?
Walk. My very beat up, damaged Black Lotus. This card is in rough shape, very, very heavily played.
Sorry,
The corner down here is bent. It's got
it's from what?
a crease where it was dropped.
Which edition?
Unlimited. I've had this for close to 15 years now. Back before they were as good at making counterfeits. Anyway, I do have one. And like I say, those are my 3 pieces, and they're the 3 I would have chosen for the Power 9. That's the 3 that I've got, and I'm very pleased with them.
Okay. This is U.S.
They fit well into just about anything.
Heavily played.
Yeah, it's not easy to get
heavily played
on things.
This person's selling a heavily played one for $26,500.
Yeah, well, this is beyond heavily played. This is damaged.
Yeah,
but it's still definitely one of the highlights of my collection. I actually paid less for this than I did for the beta Time Walk, just probably because of its condition, and also, you're always taking a chance when you get things from eBay. I did whatever tests I could to make sure it was authentic, and like I said, fakes weren't as good at the time, so I am very convinced that it is authentic, but I've never had it officially graded because I want to play with it.
and it's in really rough shape.
It is. That's why I put it in a sleeve.
Yeah.
So, but it is in very rough shape. But those are you know, my three
So
most
would you
valuable
say that-
cards
Well,
by
what,
far.
What about Jazam? Where's that one?
What, in value?
Yeah.
But, well, I mean, you could look it up as easily as I could, but probably about 2,000 or so. It would be in my top 5 to 10 for sure, but it's definitely not top 3. I also got a Time Vault. This one is in great shape. I picked up this specifically when I decided I wanted to make a vintage deck, since I did have a few of the power. And why am I talking? I'm already forgetting what I'm doing here. I should be adding these to the binder because we're going to be using them.
And this is US price too, so
we're going to be using them for the thing here. So
it's
we'll
about
get these in here.
1900
we'll
US.
Move the white cards over. So we've got more space.
This one's heavily played. I don't know what your exam is. But,
all right, let's move the white cards up here.
Yeah. Anyways, I think we looked that up a while ago.
I'll stick artifacts.
You probably have some other cards that you're not aware of the value of them too, that are just sitting somewhere.
Stick the Lotus in there. Stick the Time Vault in here. Time Vault is an interesting one. Tap it for an extra turn, but you have to. But it comes into play tapped, and to untap it, it won't untap normally. You need to have something to physically untap it, or you can untap it by skipping a turn. So you have to skip a turn before you can gain a turn, which is of course why they invented Voltaic Key and things like that. So, but I picked up that to go with my cards when I knew I wanted to start doing vintage stuff. So that can also go in the binder here. We've got the Library of Alexandria. I'll throw that in with my antiquities. Or, not antiquities, sorry. Arabian Knights.
Hey, we'll see if Salem wants to go inside. And then you need to get to bed.
There's Beta, Blue, got the Time Walk, the Chaos Orb, and whatever, I'll put it with this page of not blue Beta. Anyhow, so all these will be fun to have as options to build a deck with. Tolarian Academy is also great in vintage. Tap for a blue for each artifact you control.
Sure he's out there?
No, I said let him out.
Oh, I didn't see him out there.
And again, works well with the candelabra.
On the bed.
Yeah, well, trolls are trolls. This one was actually given to me as a wedding gift back when we got married from one of my friends who I used to play cards with. And again, it used to be given out as a book promo, but they've since reprinted it now in a few sets, most recently in the Caverns of Ixalan. And I've heard they recently decided to ban it in Commander.
Yeah, it seems that way, Void.
Not that Commander is... Commander's always been sort of an unofficial format anyway.
Hey, Krippendorf, how
Welcome,
you doing?
Krippendorf. So yeah, that's another interesting card, but it wasn't, you can see at the bottom there, even this first printing, 1995, so it doesn't make the 93 list. This doesn't count if you're talking about that I've got for the Power 9,
We lost connection
because this is a collector's edition. So it's not technically legal. It's got the gold border, it's international edition. But yeah, in the square corners, they didn't, for collector's edition, they didn't round the corners. So it's a marked card if you put it in a deck without sleeves. And
Void was like, ooh, I was going to ask why it wasn't graded.
yeah, well, even collector's edition, when I first got this, collector's edition was still relatively cheap compared to the other ones.
Yeah.
But the prices have started to go up on them a little bit now. I will throw it in the back here. Where's the page? Oh, come on. Yeah, there. I do have a few other ones I picked up when they were cheaper. The 3 that I figured I'd be most likely to use, so I do have those, but again,
Maybe
they
Pokemon
don't really
Celebrations will
count.
finally creep up. That'd be nice. We have the UPC sitting in our room that we picked up 2 of. We splurged a couple of years ago on that.
Then we've got the Mox Diamond from
Although it's-
Stronghold.
Still need to get Thomas a few cards from that set.
When we went through the Stronghold set, I already showed this. It's a handy card to have because it can tap for 1
It's
mana
pretty.
of any color. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely meant to be a card that was designed to imitate the design of the previous Moxes here. So Dan Fraser, again, they got the same artist as the guy who did the original ones. And it does fit in with them fairly well. But it's got the downside when it comes into play. You need to choose and discard a land card from your hand. So
Mox Onyx, so cool, says Void.
the Moxes are always good fun for having an option to play things quicker. Mox Opal, another one. This one they made legendary. It came out quite a while later.
That is actually kind of neat art.
Yeah. They also made Chrome Mox, but you got to discard a card of the color you want to be able to do with Chrome Mox, so it didn't fit into this deck so well. This one is just Metalcraft, so you can tap for 1 mana of any color, but you can only use it if you've got 3 or more artifacts in play. Well, it's an artifact itself, so you need 2 more artifacts, and that usually works. Vampiric Tutor and Demonic Tutor, great ways to search up cards you need.
Armageddon Index. Says
This, I believe, yep, this is... This Demonic Tutor is actually unlimited as well, so that can also go in the binder. Where's my black section?
Void. Ooh, Demonic Tutor. We had a feeling you'd like that one.
Yeah, that can go right here beside the other black cards, and
Get a little excited over that one there.
it's a very strong card for 2 mana.
the
Go
art,
get
we didn't
anything.
Redacted in unlimited. Okay.
No,
Does
I
that
don't
one-
think they
does
ever
that one
changed the
smell
art for that
bad?
one.
Does the card smell bad?
I don't think so. We got a Maze of Ith. This is technically probably not a necessary card, but it's just one that I liked to play because, it's a land, it doesn't cost me anything, and it can eliminate the biggest threat coming after me. And my deck tends to do that, so sometimes my opponents do too. It can buy me some time to get whatever combo I'm going. And for a while, I liked to have at least 1 card from each of the early sets. This was the most obvious choice from the dark. I've got a couple of dual lands in here, just because, again, it's easy to get them. The deck is mostly blue for obvious reasons, so these are all blue lands that I could use to get other colors as needed. Mainly green and black were the 2 main other colors. I did have a splash of white, so I threw in 1 Tundra.
Salem is not liking the cold and snow.
No, he's not. But yeah. Dual lands are all great. Unfortunately, like I said, almost all my dual lands are revised, so they don't qualify for 93 printings. But yeah, overall in my collection, I didn't manage to get a full play set of 4 of each, but I did very well over the years. The first one that I got 4 of was actually Tega, the green-red, which worked very nicely with things like Tinderwall, Earnhanded Djinns, Curd Apes. I had a green-red deck that was my most aggressive for quite some time. Eventually I added a little blue to it when I picked up the Ancestral Recall, so I splashed in a tropical island. I was able to get just 1 at the time, and I was able to get a German volcanic island. White bordered, which I no longer have.
Boyd
But
said he chased those packs so much during revised.
yeah. Again, from Onslaught, they came out with the fetch lands, and these things, they're okay on their own. Don't get me wrong, but they just work stupidly good with dual lands. Because, oh, look, I get this. I can pay 1 life and get it, and go get any of my blue lands for, blue or black. So I get one of those 2 colors plus any other second color I want, basically. And then they came out with the newer versions, and
I think I remember you using those against me, and it made me mad.
what, the lands or the fetch lands?
I think whatever, a mix of them, because then you would just like throw a whole bunch of stuff at me, and I'd be like still learning how to play, and I'd be like,
Yeah. Well, fetch lands are really good. I've got several, and I pulled a few for other things, but Force of Will, I usually had a play set in here, but I did pull one out to put in the Alliances set recently. Time Spiral, again, this was the classic combo with Tolarian Academy, just to get even more mana. Yawgmoth's Will, you can play everything from your graveyard again. Yeah, just very, very powerful card. You get it partway through the game, and you've already got a bunch of stuff. Just being able to play everything again is very strong. Memory Jar is basically very similar to Wheel of Fortune. Tap it, sacrifice Memory Jar. Each player sets aside his or her hand face down and draws 7 cards. At the end of turn, each player discards his or her hand and returns their original hand of cards they had. Soul Rock. Yeah, it's back there. But again, it's a revised version, so it's not as valuable and definitely not printed in 1993. So, and then the Mana Vault as well, also from revised. Regrowth is from revised. Crucible of Worlds. This goes very nice with
that's kind of neat art.
with Strip Mine. Yeah. Amidst the darkness, ashes grow the strongest seeds. So you may play land cards from your graveyard as though they were in your hand. So you could play Strip Mine every turn and just sacrifice it every turn. Or if you've got Fast Bond, multiple times a turn, and it does 1 damage to you. But yeah, this is a crazy little combo to get your lands going. Here's the Autumn art on Mishra's Factory, but again, these are 4th edition ones, which is, again, when I started playing, they had reprinted it in 4th edition as an uncommon, and I was able to get 4 copies eventually there, and it's just a very strong and handy card to have. All right, you two have a good rest of your night, and I'm going to try to call it an early night. Relative term, but still, yeah. Thanks for coming out, Void. And
Void. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope, I don't know, if we can get some volunteers maybe, or maybe we should try to, I don't know what's the best way. We're going to have to find a way to try this out and actually do some deck building out of the binder here, because I think it'll be fun. A nice little challenge game thing.
I wonder if your brother would be up for it.
I don't know.
If he's not actually here. I mean, it would be cool if your brother was here.
Hard to say.
But
Crop rotation is handy because of all the fancy lands I've got in this deck. At the time you play crop rotation, sacrifice a land, search your library for a land card, and put that land into play. So yeah, it basically tutors up whichever land you want. Very nice. Brainstorm can manipulate which cards are on top of your deck, and also dig to help you find cards. Very strong. Tezzeret the Seeker was a surprise for me. This is from Shards of Alara. Planeswalkers in general, I find a bit strange as a creature type, but its abilities just work so well. +1, untap up to 2 target artifacts. That goes very nice with the Time Vault. So I can use it to untap my Time Vault and get extra turns if I can't find the Voltaic key. Or pay X, search your library for an artifact card with converted mana cost X or less, and put that into play, and then shuffle your library up. So we can also search up the Time Vault. So I can play it, pay 2, still have 2 counters on it, and go get the Time Vault, and then next turn start +1ing to untap the Time Vault for extra turns and just have endless turns at that point. This is, yeah, very good, mainly just as And then potentially I could use it as a win condition by just swinging with a bunch of huge artifacts once I've set up. But mainly it's there for the first two abilities to play nice with my Time Vault. Zern Orb, again, nice combo with Crucible of Worlds and Fast Bond and things. You can sacrifice a land for 2 life and then pay 1 to play it again from my graveyard and repeat and get as much life as I want and as much mana as I want and whatever. I'll go to any length to achieve my goal. Eternal life is worthy of any sacrifice, reserve the enchanter. This was one of those uncommons from Ice Age, which was very popular at the time, but yeah, they eventually had to restrict it. Seat of the Synod, an artifact land. I understand they've even made enchantment lands now, which I'm going to have to keep an eye out for, because this plays very nice with Tolarian Academy, and I imagine the enchantment lands would play just as well with Sarah's Sanctum, for example. Mystical Tutor, another tutor. Search your library for an instant
Water cup.
or sorcery card, because mana source and interrupts are both instants now. So, yeah. Instant or sorcery card, reveal it to all players, put it on top of your library after you shuffle. So.
Did you see my my water cup that I used, my tumbler that I bought? The Pokemon one?
I'm sure it's around. I don't know exactly where.
I think the kid stole it.
Then we got a Blightsteel Colossus. I used to use Darksteel Colossus, and that was an 11/11 trample, indestructible, beastie, very similar to this for 11. This one's 12, but it's got Infect as well, which makes it a little bit more lethal. It can attack it can kill my opponent in 1 attack instead of 2 attacks, potentially. So I swapped over to this one. Very strong, just beat stick of a creature. And being indestructible helps keep it on the board a little longer and better too than some things. Yeah, just good old mini beat stick. Voltaic Key, as I've already mentioned, good for using with Mana Vault or Time Vault or, any sort of artifact that you can tap for more effect. This is handy to go with. Academy Ruins, tap to add 1 or tap 2 and to put an artifact card in your graveyard on top of your library. Good for getting back the Chaos Orb if I need to use it again, or just any other artifact which I've lost and want back. Snapcaster Mage, very nice with Ancestral Recall or other things. Sometimes I used to put the Sonic Blast in here. 2/1 for 2, Flash. When Snapcaster Mage enters the battlefield, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback until end of turn. Flashback cost is equal to its mana cost. It has to be exiled after, but still lets you replay something, which can be quite handy. So I threw in one of those. Tinker, obviously, goes very nicely with the Blightsteel Colossus. You could throw out an island. You could throw out Mana Crypt. Tinker away the Mana Crypt, so you don't have to worry about its upkeep, and go get Blightsteel Colossus on turn 1. Like, you can do some sick things with Tinker. It's a very strong card, and I like it very much.
And you can feel it. It's Alias.
I suppose.
He's missing.
Sensei's Divining Top. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put them back in any order. I think I used to use this. Initially, I put this in here to go with Counterbalance from Cold Snap, but I don't think that's in here anymore. So I left it in here probably to go with just other things, and then draw a card and put Sensei's Divining Top on top of Zona Sliver. Just handy to be able to manipulate the top of your deck, and it's a cheap artifact, so it fits the deck well. I threw in a Jace the Mind Sculptor because I had one, and for a while this was considered an absolutely broken card. It's decent. I mean, like I said, I'm still not a huge fan of Planeswalkers, but for 4 mana, +2, look at the top card of target player's library. You may choose to put that card on the bottom of that player's library. or draw 3 cards and then put 2 back on top of in any order. So again, a way to manipulate the top of your library. Or -1, return target creature to owner's hand. Very annoying if your opponent pulls the Darksteel Colossus, Blightsteel Colossus, Stinker Trick, and whoop, nope, that can go back to your hand now. Or again, there's the big finisher ability. I think it was just considered overpowered just because it had 4 options instead of 3, like most planeswalkers, basically. This is one of the reasons I was splashing white and leaving stuff to manipulate the top cards of my library. Put all creature cards on the bottom of their owner's libraries. So this is a good way to get rid of things which are indestructible, or cannot be the target, or whatever, or just a massive swarm of creatures.
Would that mean you're one too, though?
Yes, it would. But again, my Mistress Factories, they wouldn't count as creatures. So I could just choose to play this when they're, then it'd stay on the board.
Okay.
And Miracle, you can play it for 1 instead of the 6. If you draw it for the first card you drew this turn. So that's one of the reasons it's handy to be able to put things back on top of your library in any order with things like Brainstorm. Or manipulate the top card of your library. Balance. Whichever player has more lands in play must discard enough lands of his or her choice to equalize the number of lands. Next players equalize the cards in hand and then the number of creatures in play. So lands, cards in hands, and creatures all have to be brought down to the lowest common denominator. This deck doesn't have a lot of creatures, so often this could be a board wiping type card as well to deal with my opponent's creatures. Yeah, just very situational, but usually you can get good value out of it, and it doesn't cost much. So I threw that in there with the Terminus to try out for when I splashed a little white. Inkwell Leviathan, just as an alternative to the Blightsteel Colossus, if my opponent's already cleared that off for some reason, or if I know that the Shroud will be more of a bother to them than Indestructible. Island Walk can be nice. Not as lethal, but I mean, I was using this back when I was using Darksteel Colossus. So Darksteel could kill in 2 swings. This would take 3, but it's still stuck around just because of the Shroud clause, basically, in Island Walk, even though the Darksteel Colossus got upgraded to a Blightsteel. But still not a bad option if I'm stuck for a creature. Into its maw went the 7th sea, never to be seen again while the world remains. And there's the Lotus Petal again and the Wasteland, because I stopped flipping cards to the back. So yeah, none of these other cards really fit into the binder. Well, I could put the Antiquities ones in, I suppose, and probably the Legends Mana Drain. I'll put the rest of these back in here for now. But yeah, in terms of trading for dual lands, I got up to 32 out of 40. So I've got at least 2 of each available. But most of them, like I said, aren't from Unlimited or earlier. I do have 1 black bordered dual land, but that's the black bordered French version. Oh, right. I got some more of these, so I don't have them on this page now. I'm going to have to figure out how to...
I'll just rearrange it later.
Yeah, I guess I can throw them here for now.
I actually like these binders that have they go in from the side and they have the fabric back, so... They're harder to show cards off, so that's a problem.
True. And where's blue?
Hey, founder!
Here's my blue page. I'm going to throw the Mana Drain in there. But yeah, eventually we might expand as far as Legends. I could see doing that.
I think founder came in early on, but then...
If it works well with just Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, and Arabian
Yeah.
Knights. Then I could see trying with Antiquities too. But I think for the first couple of times, we'll go with the 93 sets. So that's Alpha, Beta, Unlimited cards, and Arabian Knights cards. I am a little shy on white in ABU, but I do have a good page of... Well, I have a few cards here from white, which might be interesting in Arabian Nights anyway. But I think white is going to be the hardest color to work with, to be honest. I've got much better options in the other... Oh, we're just that entertaining, are we? Oh, well.
Yep.
Well, it's late and we're getting tired too, so...
I don't blame her.
So, anyway, I'm going to have to organize this so it's a little bit better set up, I think. But I definitely think I've got enough interesting cards here to work with. And it could be fun to build a couple 40-card decks and try playing against people for prizes. I think this could work quite nicely.
I have an idea for a raid. If people like playing word games. Broly's secondary again. Yeah, I think we should do that. Because why not? I don't know if he's ever had a raid to his decent trainer page. When
I
it's
don't
not
know.
a words game. So I think that's what we should do. Because why not?
But yeah, they're all spread out and broken up now. In terms of lands, obviously, when you get into Arabian Nights, you've got fun things like Desert and Library of Alexandria, but I've got the one unlimited plateau there, which won't help too much because, like I said, white's going to be the hardest color to use anyway. But yeah, I think there's enough stuff for all the other colors that probably 2-color decks will be the way to go in my estimation. Since I mentioned it, I'll try and just find... Yeah, that's my other interesting... Well, I shouldn't say interesting. In collecting dual lands, I wasn't too picky about getting, especially early on, foreign language ones. So here's a German Tundra, white bordered, but I got a black bordered French Volcanic Island. And these can be really tricky to price because you don't see a lot of them for sale anywhere.
No.
But generally, Volcanic Island was the one that they missed on the alpha sheet.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, when they first made Alpha, there were a couple of cards that were meant to be in the set that got missed. And Volcanic Island was one of them. Circle of Protection Black, interestingly, was another. So you won't find Alpha versions of either of those. They had some improper casting costs and things too, which they fixed in Beta. But black-bordered Volcanic Islands are a little harder to find than the other dual lands because Alpha ones don't exist. You can only find black-bordered Volcanic Islands in Beta or these foreign language revised versions. So there's that as an interesting oddity.
There's a lot of neat art in these sets. I like that.
I do like it too.
Founder says, I love foreign language cards, especially in Pokemon. Yeah.
I like that if you look closely on the Tundra there, you can see some caribou wandering around.
Oh, I saw 3 deer on the way to get Isabel from school today.
Nice.
There might have been 4, actually. One was on its own, and then there was some more down.
Yeah.
They're getting their antlers. The young deer are getting their antlers coming in.
I guess since we're already talking about legends, and here's a few of the Italian Legends cards I had. I mentioned the Mirror Universe up there. We already showed the legendary ones during the legendary stream. We were lucky enough to pull 2 Italian moats from the booster box we did.
That was cool.
That's always been a sought after card.
Did we get 1 in each, or did we get 2 in one of them?
I got 1 in each. So
man,
very nice card just as an enchantment that sits there, and creatures without flying can't attack you. So, protects you from all non-flying creatures. Very strong effect.
That was so much fun opening those Italian boosters.
It was.
Because then we were going on the
We
computer
got
looking to see
Chaos,
what it
Firestorm,
was.
Phoenix, Land Tax, very strong card as well. It's just other oddities back there. Anyway, all kinds of goodies in here, but we'll stick for our first attempt to unlimited, and go from there, which I think will be fun. Anyway, so that's showing off the
Do you like
oldest
Pokemon cards?
and best stuff in my collection. I've never played a lot of Pokemon. I built some Pokemon decks early out of the common bin at the stores that I started.
I like Pokemon cards.
Yes, Angela loves Pokemon cards, especially
More for the art.
Yeah,
but
mainly for the art and the collecting. She has played a little bit online. I've tried teaching the kids a little bit. And we do cover Pokemon cards quite a bit on our channel.
Yes,
But
that's my thing.
but yeah, that's more her thing. And,
Monday nights is our Magic nights, and Saturday nights is our random, whichever TCG or CCG we decide to cover.
Yeah. So.
And then we throw different things in here and there. We're kind of a variety.
Yeah, very
Right.
much so. So.
Do we have any favorite Pokemon? Yes. I have lots of favorites, to be honest.
Yeah, so do I, in different ones in different ways. Most of my favorites are Gen 1, just because that's what I grew up with, but I do have a few others that have creeped in over the years. Genesect was my first ever Steel type, so it's got a soft spot in my heart.
The art, but I like the Vulpix. I like the Evolutions. Gyarados is cool. Charizard, of course, I love Charizard. There's so many neat. It's hard to pick one, really.
Oh yeah, it can always definitely be hard to pick. I'm trying to narrow things down. What else do I have in here that might be interesting?
Our beautiful tablecloth we just changed before the stream.
Yeah, that's not probably what I should be showing at the moment. Here's another deck that I used to like to play just as an aggressive red, white, green deck. These were handy because it's 2/2 for 2 with other abilities. You can sacrifice it, destroy an artifact or enchantment.
Well, like I said, Monday nights is our
Watch
Magic.
Wolf, when
Magic
Ravnica
stream.
came out, I couldn't believe you could get a 3/3 for 2.
And yeah, Papa Spocat here. He's the Magic guy.
Yeah, good old Rancor.
He's been collecting since he was young.
Yeah, well, I took a big break for about a decade or so, and then started to pay more attention to it again when they came out with the Tales of Middle-earth, which is just one of my favorite themes. That's a random enchantment that used to be quite fun. Still is. This is a weird one because it's obviously meant to be aggressive. You slap it on for +2/+2, and enchanted creature deals damage, you gain that much life, and trample. So buffs one of your creatures, gains you some life usually. But in a pinch, the trick with this is you can throw it on your opponent's creature, which makes it bigger, but then you just don't block it. And whenever it deals damage, you gain that much life. So they come and smack you in the face for 7, and you gain 7 life. And it did nothing. And their creature is pretty useless for attacking you then. So, you know, sometimes in a pinch, that can be a play. Loam Lion, they made a basically ripped off Kurt Ape, except made it white. Wild Nectal, 1 mana, +1/+1 as long as you control a mountain, +1/+1 as long as you control plains. So, yeah, is that Naya colors? I think they call it. Pretty good. Again, bathed in light. Radiance, choose a color, target creature, and each creature that shares a color with it gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. It can be funny when you give most of your creatures protection from whatever they have. Woolly Thoktar, 5/4, for 3 mana. You know, the Fire Elemental and Water Elemental I was talking about that were 5/4 vanillas cost 5. Well, it's pretty color specific, but 3 is a lot less than 5. Power creep really has taken a toll. Curd Ape still kind of keeps pace with some of the other creatures in this deck, but even it is getting stretched thin. Lightning Bolt's still good.
Dark Matter's saying he doesn't get why some people get basketball cards because I spend most of my money on Pokemon because it's really a game. Well, it's a collector thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing too, is I always appreciated the game element to all these card games that I've collected. I did start collecting Marvel cards
Digimon
before,
is better. I think.
But yeah, Magic cards, Pokemon cards, Star Trek cards, Star Wars cards, all these different card games, I think are just great fun. So,
I mean, I grew up collecting hockey cards because my brothers were in hockey and we watched hockey as a family. So, you know, I get the sports collecting side of it. I grew out of the sports collecting side of it. But if I see like a player from when I was really into hockey, then I'll grab something if it's not crazy expensive.
yeah.
No, we don't do Dragon Ball Z. That's we started collecting Pokemon around Crown Zenith time, and that's when our kids were getting into it. So that's why we started collecting.
Here's where Chromox works, because it's a monocolored deck, so it's easy to find a black card and then can throw it out for extra black mana. This is also where I had my sinkholes until recently when I pulled them for the binder. Lots of land destruction, hand removal, just trying to...
Sometimes it's tempting to go and grab some Yu-Gi-Oh cards or Dragon Ball cards or something like that, because that's all Walmart has.
Could be. This is also where I had my Jazam the Djinn, alongside the Phyrexian Obliterators as my 4-drops. Obliterator is so much better, it's not even funny, but Jazam was just fun. Mox Diamond and Necropotence. Standard black fare, really. And then this deck, the only other one I've got here.
We got a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Did I say Yu-Gi-Oh?
We do not have.
No,
much...
at Walmart. The Walmart has so much.
Oh yeah, they do like.
They have lots of sports and Yu-Gi-Oh.
It sells for some reason better than a lot of things.
Not at our Walmart.
I never really understood the draw of Yu-Gi-Oh myself, but a lot of people like it. And I got a little Eldrazi deck I put together here from. I didn't get into the new Eldrazi. I stopped playing before the more recent sets, so I don't even know what a lot of them had.
Do most of your kids mostly like Pokemon? A couple of them.
Some of them do. Cloud Post is always fun. Add one for each locust in play. It was a little iffy when Cloud Post was the only locust they'd ever made, but they made another one after, and that made it easier. Throw in my Urza's lands. Yeah, Glimmer Post is also a locust. In this one, you gain 1 life for each locust when it enters the battlefield, and tap for a colorless. And then Vesuvo, so you can copy one of your locusts and go to town that way. Expedition Map to go find more locusts. Yeah, that's all good stuff. Core Tapper, manipulate charge counters. Always fun. Kozilek. Core Tappers. Eldrazi Conscription.
Nice.
Just in case you need to attack with a Core Tapper. Not of this world. Counter target spell or ability that targets a permanent you control. Not of this world costs 7 less to cast if it targets a spell or ability that targets a creature you control with power 7 or greater. So, yeah, can be free. And the Everflowing Chalice, multi-kicker to put charge counters on it so the core tappers can pump it and add 1 mana for each charge counter on it. With a little combo that's handy. All is dust. Each player sacrifices all colored permanents he controls. Well, this is a colorless deck, so it doesn't affect me. Yeah, so this nasty little surprise. Lightning Greaves are just always good for anything. Just so good.
Yeah, I think you can, but a lot
Haste
of
and
people
Shroud.
don't want to get them graded because they prefer to play with them. So, you don't see too
If
many
they're
graded.
graded, you can't play with them. So what's
Yeah.
the point? You know, like.
Well, I mean, it all depends what it is about those. Like, if you just want to collect them.
Yeah, I suppose, but I'd rather play with
Yeah.
the cards. That's what they were intended for. You know, that's just my general thing.
You get Pokemon's a lot more graded or sports cards. And
I
stuff
suppose. Magistrate Scepter, this was an interesting one, just because I've got stuff in here to manipulate charge counters already. Pay 4 and tap it to put a charge counter on it. Remove 3 charge counters from Magistrate Scepter to take another turn after this one. So if I've got core tappers around, and I can put charge counters on it that way instead, this thing can become quite powerful.
I wonder if they ever got the person, I think it was Post Malone, ended up with that one ring, the 1 of 1. I wonder if he ever got it graded.
Yes, they did that, I think, largely just for authentication purposes.
Oh, okay.
But they did get it graded. I think it came back as like a 9 or an 8 or something.
It doesn't really matter. It's 1 of 1.
No, it's 1 of 1, so it really kind of irrelevant. But
yeah,
it's basically just an authentication and way to protect it, I guess, because it gets sealed in there.
Oh man, if I found it, you bet your butt I'd sell it. I mean, it'd be cool.
If the price it was commanding, yeah. Whoops. And then we got.
Oh my goodness, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, so getting tired. But yeah, I got a few more slivers to add to my collection from the mail. Again, these cloud shredders seem to be pretty decent. Haste and flying on 1 sliver. That's probably why it's been reprinted a few times. And then just the Hive Lord there and the others. So.
Yeah. Well, let me just go check and see. Just for the wait a second. Let's see. Was 1 of 1. It means it's the only card.
It was serialized.
Yeah.
Serialized 1 ring. They only made 1 copy of it.
Yeah. Let's see. We've got.
Might as well throw some sleeves on some of these.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna stick with. Yeah, let's just for the fun of it. You don't have to, but I think it would be fun if we went over to Broly or Decent Trainer Broly's channel and just curated his words, his word stream. Because why not?
It's interesting to see how the values of cards have changed over the years. The Time Twister used to be the cheapest of the Power 9, and arguably
we can go do
the least
Trainer Glenn
efficient
too.
with the higher cost.
I just go over to Broly's stream really quick and just say Spocat raid for the fun of it, and then I can put Trainer Glenn's link in there as well. But is he just doing a big Pokemon race, or was he doing? Oh yeah, he's doing like an 11-hour race or something like that.
Wow, that's a long race.
Yeah. We'll share that too if people want to go over and check it out. But go drop a little. That'd be fun. Go to a couple different sites and just say hi. Oh, late night. Oh, my iPad stopped working. Oops. Oh, there we go. But the chat's not working.
That's one thing I'll say too for this sliver design is it still looked like slivers.
I saw Slivers
These
and I'm now having war flashbacks.
These humanoid
Says
type
Jonathan.
slivers I don't appreciate as much.
Okay. So Jonathan made a comment about Slivers.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, slivers are an interesting... I did a stream about... Oh, how long ago was that? A couple weeks ago, anyway. That I went over the first 3 generations of slivers when they were first introduced in Tempest and Stronghold. Was Wave 1. Then they brought them back in Onslaught and, well, 1 in Scourge, but mainly Onslaught in Wave 2. And then Time Spiral block. The whole block had slivers in it. And that was Wave 3. After that, when they rebooted slivers, they gave them all these abilities which sliver creatures you control instead of all slivers, and that just changed. They also changed the design to make them more humanoid looking, and I lost a lot of interest in slivers at that point. But the first 3 waves were really what interested me in slivers. And I just picked up a few extra samples because I was missing this one, and it was neat to see what they've done with them since. So
I was wondering if anybody's going either to those places.
they
why
were
not?
too strong slivers, so they had to nerf them. No, but they didn't nerf them. That's the thing. Like the ability now only affects yours. That's technically stronger than affecting everybody's, because affecting everybody's, you could be buffing your opponents. I guess they might have nerfed them just in making them not as good in terms of the casting cost, making them cost more and stuff. Maybe that's what you mean. But the slivers were always an interesting and unique to Magic the Gathering thing. I don't think they exist anywhere else, although the early ones do sort of have a Zerg-like appearance to me from StarCraft, but that's just aesthetic, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyhow,
that's pretty much it for tonight.
if
I
you're
think.
if you're interested in trying the building a 40 card deck out of my binder thing, it was not going to be next week because I'm not, but not around next week
Monday?
for night shifts.
Monday night?
But
Monday night? You're not working Monday night?
night shifts next set. I'm working to Monday. Yes.
No, but you're not working Monday. You don't start till Tuesday.
Aren't I not?
No, because today was your last shift.
Oh, I got all mixed up. Look at that. Was there something else I was planning? I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe we will try it next Monday. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway, that was the thought. If you like the idea, we can give it a go.
Yeah.
Whether it's easier to work with chat as a whole, is that going to be too chaotic?
Oh, I don't know.
Or to just pick one person to represent chat for the...
Yeah, I don't... I mean, they can chat and discuss strategies.
Oh, maybe.
That'd be fine. But, so yeah, what do we have planned this week? We have Thursday night, Void can play you.
Maybe.
Thursday night we have, Thursday we have our Pokemon stream. We don't know exactly what we're doing yet. And then Saturday is... Wait, are you working Saturday? You working Saturday night?
Not this coming Saturday, no. But we're going to be in the city.
What day did you take overtime?
Sunday night.
Sunday night. Okay, never mind. So Saturday night, what are you doing
Which
Saturday
is going to
night?
be really weird for Monday, because...
Yeah, I know.
But at
You'll
least
have to have
it'll
a
be
nap or
possible.
something.
Anyway.
What are you doing Sunday or Saturday for stream?
We're going to be in town, like in the city, and then it depends what time we get back.
Yeah, well, Saturday night. You can probably do something.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll do something Saturday. We don't know what yet.
Maybe
We'll
I
let
could,
you know.
Well, the next Star Trek set I've lined up is the Borg.
Oh, Borg. That could be fun.
If we've got time, I could do the Borg booster box opening. That could be interesting.
Ooh, Borg booster box. Okay, there you go. So yeah.
Depends how late we get back. And how
I don't know.
exhausted I am.
I don't know. It's gonna be lots of stuff to do still. But,
anyway. But thanks for coming
wait
out.
a second. You should definitely end on you. So.
Oh, well, I suppose.
A second. That's
likes
our
to see my
beautiful
ugly mug.
string of lights over there on the wall that Lucas put up.
Yes, Lucas likes lights.
Let's put this back here. Sorry.
Yeah, and I've got my very old shirt on.
We're gonna get a better setup eventually.
That's
for
the
now.
plan.
For now, this is what we got. So
You can see my hole in my shoulder where
his
the
holy shirt.
seatbelt's been wearing through. Look at that.
But yeah, please
20th
go.
century frost shows how old I am.
Please go check out a couple of those links and send them some love, and even if it's just a hi and a like. But there's a couple people that I appreciate. Every once in a while, we've changed up. Not always magic related. We need to find some magic people.
Yeah, we usually do
So
Monday night magic streams, Thursday night Pokemon,
or Thursday.
or
Depends.
Thursday.
Sometimes we do Thursday and Thursday night.
And then Saturday night is usually
So.
other. So
Yes.
we've been doing a lot of Star Trek. We have also been doing a few other
Have a good
things
night, Founder.
with Lord of the Rings from the Cipher.
Thanks for stopping in.
Or Lorcana, or
Yes. Our Lorcana stream that took over when you were
we did a
working
Monty Python
actually
one.
did quite well, and we were only there for an hour.
Yeah.
That was fun.
And I've got some other things lined up. I got some Star Wars I'd like to get into, and also some Harry Potter in the future. So that's something I'm looking forward to.
I love Star Trek, says Founder. Yes.
Star Trek is a lot of fun.
Did you open your cards yet? Or are they still sealed somewhere? Harry Potter. Oh yes, we do have Harry Potter. That's
going to be something I'm going to try and wrap up the Star Trek first before we dig into the
still
Harry
sealed.
Potter.
Okay.
If you do decide to dig into those, I'd love to know what you get, whether you're filming it or not. I don't know,
or pictures,
or whatever, or pictures,
send
or
pictures.
something. But I'd love to hear how that turns out for you if you do decide to dig into those. So
yeah. So
yeah.
But Thursday is Halloween. Next Thursday.
Yes.
Not this
that could
Thursday, but
be-
next Thursday.
Yeah, that'll be a wrinkle we'll
So-
have to figure out. Thank you.
We will. What are we doing? We'll probably do a short stream in the middle of the day at least, our regular stream time. But we don't know what we're doing for it yet.
Yeah.
So
Excuse me.
he's
Getting
tired.
tired.
I'm tired.
It's been a long day.
It has. So, all right, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. We do appreciate you all. Yeah, feel free to go back and rewatch some of our other streams if you want. We are working on getting 3,000 watch hours. Dressing up for Halloween. We don't know yet.
Usually do something. We've already showed off my chainmail coif. Sometimes I just throw that on, or I've got a lab coat and stuff from back in my university science department days. So
yeah, the kids usually do, but
yeah, we'll see. The kids
Yeah.
like to go trick-or-treating, and we usually do something to take them or whatnot.
we go to a different part of town because our part of town doesn't have very many houses.
No, not a lot. But
So, but
we'll
yeah.
see.
All right, guys. I think we're gonna call it. We
Yeah.
appreciate you. Thanks for watching. It's been fun.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll catch you guys soon. Feel free to hit the like button on the way out. We do appreciate it. If not, that's okay too. And we'll see you soon. So
Ciao.
have a good night, or day,
Bye
or
for
morning,
now.
wherever you are. Because
Toodaloo.
I thought I had some hair going up, but
Nighty-night.
it was actually the the top of the cabinet there. So, all right, bye for now.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Good night.
It's funny because it looked like it was like